Chapter 4:10. After living for so many years and encountering so many things, ever since Feng Zhao had woken up in the new era, he had rarely had such a huge psychological impact. How does it feel to be scared by your own dog in the middle of the night? Feng Zhao finally experienced it. Curly Hair was still immersed in the game and simply didn't notice Feng Zhao. Just as he was about to continue on to the next level, Feng Zhao walked over and kicked Curly Hair's butt. Curly Hair, who had been trying his best to clear the next stage, jumped in fright. His gaming helmet was flung to the side. Seeing that it was Feng Zhao, Curly Hair whimpered and wagged his tail as he scooted over. Those pure and innocent dog eyes looked especially pitiful. Feng Zhao looked at Curly Hair silently. Curly Hair tilted his head when Feng Zhao stared at him like this. Then, he wagged his tail and squeezed over to Feng Zhao's side. He seemed to be in a good mood, probably because he had just cleared a level and was still feeling smug. Feng Zhao was silent for a while before saying to Curly Hair, "You sure are capable. When did you learn to hum?" Curly Hair looked at Feng Zhao doubtfully. His wagging tail also slowed down, and his eyes were filled with confusion. "You really don't understand?" Feng Zhao played the video of Curly Hair humming while wagging his tail. Curly Hair's ears tilted upwards in fright when he saw the scene in the video. He tilted his neck back, and all the hair on his body straightened. He took a few steps back as though he had seen a terrifying monster. "You scared yourself?" Feng Zhao waved at it. "Come over here. Hum it again. It's the music from the earlier part of the game." Curly Hair looked at Feng Zhao, then back at the screen. He walked closer to Feng Zhao and let out a humph. Following that, he let out a few more intermittent hums. However, it wasn't the humming of a song. Instead, it was the usual dog hums. After hearing Curly Hair grunt for a while, Feng Zhao said helplessly, all right. Let's call it a day. Be careful and don't let anyone discover you." Feng Zhao could tell that Curly Hair had probably hummed that song unintentionally. He had been in a good mood and had been too engrossed in the game to realize what he had just done. Now that he wanted to deliberately hum it, he couldn't do it. A long time ago, Feng Zhao had discovered that Curly Hair was a fast learner, and his IQ was constantly rising. The sheep herding competition in Muzhou had also sufficiently proven Curly Hair's learning ability and mobility. His sense of smell and hearing also far surpassed that of other breeds. Even the elite dogs in the world's most famous police dog academy in Muzhou couldn't reach Curly Hair's level. It wasn't a problem of learning methods. Feng Zhao felt that it was probably due to the uniqueness of Curly Hair's genes. But he couldn't find anything when he gave it a physical examination in the past. He thought back to the time on Planet Y, when Curly Hair's injuries were barely visible, and the bullets that Curly Hair had pooped out. Alien species? Or a local variant? The first time Feng Zhao had seen Curly Hair was in the Black Street. Although he could find records of Curly Hair's activities in the Black Street earlier, what about earlier times? Where did it come from? What kind of secrets did it carry? Feng Zhao understood himself very well. This body of his had always been changing. It was just that the changes weren't as obvious or as exaggerated as Curly Hair's, but compared to other people, it was much stronger. Even during the period of destruction, when his body was at its peak, it hadn't reached this level. His vision, hearing, perception, physical strength, and other aspects had already exceeded the normal range. It was just that Feng Zhao rarely displayed other aspects besides his hearing. Outsiders labeled him as either ears or music, with these two being the main attributes. Feng Zhao once again recalled the supernatural incident in the Black Street on the night of his rebirth. Curly Hair's uniqueness and his own changes were very likely linked. After searching through all sorts of information, he still couldn't find an answer. The universe was so big. There were surely many things that people couldn't imagine but were real. Feng Zhao had always suppressed this matter in his heart. He had originally thought that Curly Hair was just a little more intelligent and thick-skinned. Now that he had seen this trend, who knew when Curly Hair would be able to speak? Then again, why didn't he practice more if he had this ability? He ate so much every day. Where did all the energy go? Second puberty? No, it should be n times of puberty. No one knew how many times Curly Hair had matured. Ever since Feng Zhao had raised him, his physiological functions had never stopped changing. Curly Hair's IQ had increased, and there was no need to doubt his learning ability. Now that he had this ability, Feng Zhao decided to let Curly Hair practice vocalizing. Curly Hair hummed along with educational videos to practice vocalizing. Not like a dog but like a human. In any case, with Curly Hair's current IQ, he could understand what was being said in educational videos. At first, Curly Hair wasn't very willing. After humming for a while, he started whining and rolling on the ground, refusing to learn. Feng Zhao saw that proper educational videos weren't effective, so he downloaded a song-learning game for young children. This game also had simple vocalization exercises at the start. The more accurate the pitch, the higher the score. Under the temptation of the new game, Curly Hair finally took a little more initiative in practicing vocalization. A gamer dog was indeed a gamer dog. As he played, he became addicted. He didn't dare mess around in the day, but at night, he practiced vocalization while playing games. Feng Zhao didn't even need to keep an eye on him. In the school dormitories, as long as the doors and windows were closed, the soundproofing was rather good. After all, singing, dancing, and practicing musical instruments were all too common in the Arts Institute. If the soundproofing wasn't good, all sorts of noises could cause one to die. Although Feng Zhao's hearing was very good, he could still hear the sounds around him even with the soundproofing. However, after familiarizing himself with the environment, he could filter out the noises outside the dormitory. However, how would it feel to have your own dog bark all night in the dormitory during bedtime? Originally, Feng Zhao had thought that Curly Hair's vocalization practice wouldn't affect his sleep, but he had underestimated this gamer dog. If it had been any other dog barking blindly, he could have ignored it. The living conditions during the period of destruction were much more complicated, and he wouldn't be unable to sleep just because of a little noise. Maintaining vigilance was a must, but the body also needed rest. Without this ability, he wouldn't have survived. However, when Curly Hair played the vocalization game, there was a kind of demonic lethality that penetrated the brain. Feng Zhao had just fallen asleep, and his mind was still playing a serenade when Curly Hair's strange noises swept over. Feng Zhao. I'll just let him play the monster fighting game. For the sake of sleep at night, Feng Zhao set a time limit for the game to be played at different times. As for letting Curly Hair learn how to speak, it probably wouldn't be possible in the short term. The effects of vocalization practice weren't ideal, but there was no rush. Even if Curly Hair ultimately couldn't learn to speak, it didn't matter. After all, Curly Hair was a dog, not a human. After that, Feng Zhao busied himself with his thesis and graduation project. Time passed day by day. It was almost the end of the year. Celebrities were busy with all sorts of activities. Various large companies loved to invite celebrities to show their faces at their annual conferences. Feng Zhao had been invited to perform at the Star Cup victory ceremony this year, and many people had their eyes on him. They always felt that the celebrities invited by the Star Cup were more pretentious. However, Feng Zhao was currently in seclusion and rejected many invitations. When they couldn't contact Feng Zhao, they found others to help contact him. Nanfeng, as an assistant, became very busy. On this day, Nanfeng had just stepped out of the Huang Art campus when he received a call. The moment he picked up, it was about Feng Zhao again. Nanfeng frowned and rubbed his forehead. I already said, it's impossible. There's no choice. I'm just a small assistant, not his manager. I have to listen to whatever boss says. Hey, this isn't about money. My boss doesn't intend to accept any performances or activities now. Even if he wants to, he can't accept them now. Why? You should have already heard that he is locked at home by Old Master Mo to write his thesis. You know Old Master Mo, right? Mo Lang, a treasured artist. The old man has moved a chair and is guarding the door. If you have the guts, go and find him yourself. I don't have the guts. I also don't have the time. Really, I just came back from walking the dog. Boss gave me a mission. Nanfeng complained to Zui Yu and Yen Biao after the call. In the past, before he had become Feng Zhao's assistant, he had always dreamed of this kind of life. Being busy with work was good. It proved that there was fame and money to be made. Now, he felt annoyed but happy. It was a good thing that so many people invited Feng Zhao to participate in activities. He should be happy. But as Feng Zhao had said, he was still in the advanced studies phase. His studies were the priority, and all other activities were secondary. As a qualified assistant who followed his boss's orders, Nanfeng naturally did things according to Feng Zhao's wishes. He rejected all those who asked him to help with matchmaking and recommendations. If he dared to trouble Feng Zhao with this, he would be kicked out today, not even tomorrow. Actually, Nanfeng wasn't exaggerating. Old Master Mo was really guarding the house and letting Feng Zhao write his thesis in his study. To successfully graduate from Huang Art's 12 Tones advanced course, there were requirements for the quantity and quality of a thesis. Was a performance more important or a thesis more important? Resolutely reject all unnecessary commercial activities. Film festivals, corporate annual conferences, thank you speeches from advertising agencies, and all sorts of other activities. Don't even think about it. It wasn't that Mo Lang wanted to control all of Feng Zhao's matters and interfere with all of his decisions. The old man had experienced a lot and seen a lot. Naturally, he wouldn't really let Feng Zhao reject all activities. A large portion of his students were rushing to perform at the end of the year. Feng Zhao's public mentor, Professor Carter, was also busy performing for an important conference. Many of Huang Art's teachers and students were the same. It was just that Mo Lang felt that during the advanced studies period and before graduation, he shouldn't meddle too much. He hoped that Feng Zhao could focus more on music and art. Such a good seedling. Don't let him be pulled down the wrong path. Feng Zhao also approved of Mo Lang's thinking. These 2 days, he cooperated and stayed at Mo Lang's place to write his thesis. As for Curly Hair, Nanfeng and the other two took turns walking the dog. In the living room on the first floor of the Mo residence, Mo Lang brewed a cup of tea and sighed in satisfaction as he read the first draft of the thesis Feng Zhao had given him. He didn't believe that anyone would dare snatch Feng Zhao away this time. Chapter 4:11. Mo Lang was the one who had spread the news that Feng Zhao was working on his thesis so that those people would back off. Feng Zhao wasn't someone who didn't know what was good for him. He naturally understood Venerable Mo's good intentions, and he was more than willing to focus on music and artistic creation, so he was very cooperative. Mo Lang had just finished reading the first draft of the thesis Feng Zhao had given him. He looked at the time and thought that there probably wouldn't be anyone coming today. Just as he was about to head upstairs to rest, the doorbell rang. Mo Lang's expression immediately darkened. "Venerable Mo, it's Professor Carter and the others," his assistant said. Mo Lang's expression softened a little when he heard that it was them. He could roughly guess why Carter and the others were here. "Let them in." Professor Carter brought 2 of his disciples and 3 of his fellow disciples over. "I originally didn't intend to trouble you, but I happened to bump into them. They all had some problems they couldn't solve, so I decided to come over to try my luck," Professor Carter explained. Looking around, Professor Carter asked, "Is Feng Zhao still in the study? How's the progress of his thesis?" After all, Feng Zhao was his nominal student, so he had to show some concern. "It's still all right. It's more efficient without anyone to disturb him," Mo Lang replied. "The end of the year is when people are the most restless. I have to keep watch. If it's inconvenient for him to refuse or speak up, I'll do it." One of the people who had come with Carter hurriedly said, "With you overseeing things, others can forget about disturbing him. They don't have the guts to." Before he could finish, he saw Feng Zhao walking over from the study. "Teacher Mo, I have to apply for leave." Feng Zhao had just been editing his thesis in the study when he received a conscription order to bring Curly Hair to a designated location for testing within 3 days. Although he had a lot of freedom and wasn't bound by military rules and regulations, he couldn't refuse orders from above during reserve duty unless there were special circumstances. Based on Feng Zhao's understanding of current affairs, the most important military activity was the upcoming Whale Island Conference. Representatives from various military districts, bases, and collaborating parties would gather on Whale Island to hold a conference on military science and strategy. The conference was held once every 5 years and was extremely important. Logically speaking, Feng Zhao didn't have the qualifications to participate. Even performances during the conference would be arranged by people of Professor Carter's level. Professor Carter had been busy performing for the Whale Island Conference during this period, but the conscription order that Feng Zhao had received was clearly different. Shortly after receiving the draft notice, Feng Zhao received a call from Y Base Commanding Officer Hua Yi. Hua Yi had arrived in Huangzhou yesterday to participate in the Whale Island Conference. Did you receive the conscription order? Hua Yi seemed to be in a good mood. I just got it, Feng Zhao replied. I recommended you to the Whale Island Conference's inspection team. The level of the conference is too high. In this kind of matter, even I only have the right to recommend but not the right to decide. Whether you can stay or not depends on your test results. But I have faith in you. Feng Zhao, for this kind of thing, the allowance for the duration of the mission isn't much, but the military merits recorded will be added to your file. Whether it's for you or little curly hair, it's a good thing. You have to prepare seriously. Was the paper more important or the Whale Island Conference? For Hua Yi, this was simply a free-point question. He didn't even need to use his brain. He could even close his eyes and choose the latter. In the face of the Whale Island Conference, performances and papers were all secondary. Feng Zhao was also very curious about the Whale Island Conference. Given his rank, there was no way he could attend. Hua Yi had fought for a spot for him, so Feng Zhao expressed his gratitude. Even if it was just the inspection team, being able to experience it was still pretty good. After making his decision, Feng Zhao went to look for Mo Lang to apply for leave. Upon hearing that Feng Zhao wanted to apply for leave, Mo Lang didn't say anything immediately. He just frowned and stared at Feng Zhao. Because there were still other people present, Feng Zhao didn't say much and went over to show Mo Lang the draft notice. Mo Lang's face stiffened, and his expression turned extremely ugly. Even an artist of his level had no choice but to take a step back. The second revision of the paper has been completed. It has been sent to your email address. I will apply for a day's leave and participate in the test tomorrow, Feng Zhao said in a low voice. All right, Mo Lang said unwillingly. What else could he say? Professor Carter and the others were still there, so Feng Zhao left after bidding them farewell. Carter and the others who were left behind shrunk their necks when they saw Mo Lang's gloomy expression. Indeed, today wasn't a good day. They shouldn't have come today. After leaving the Mo residence, Feng Zhao returned to his dormitory and waved at Curly Hair. Come over. I will explain to you how to conduct the test tomorrow. The next day, Feng Zhao brought Curly Hair to the designated testing area on the conscription order. The test was divided into preliminary and secondary tests. The main test subject was Curly Hair. First, Curly Hair's health condition had to be checked. Curly Hair was not aggressive and obedient. These were all considered preliminary tests and were the most basic requirements. After the preliminary test was the ability to search and quarantine tests. Feng Zhao also had his own tests, which included an ability test and a psychological test. These were relatively simple and were completed in less than half an hour. Curly Hair's test duration was 2 hours. After all the tests were completed, Feng Zhao's results were outstanding. Curly Hair's results were considered top-notch in the various tests and his overall score was third. Feng Zhao had served in the military on planet Baiji and had been praised by the military many times, so there wasn't much of a problem. Curly Hair had also served on planet Y. Most inspection dogs needed at least a year of work experience before they could take the test. Although Curly Hair didn't have enough experience and was still a pet dog, Y-Base had strongly recommended him and he had military merits, so the inspection team was willing to give him a chance to take the test. To put it simply, Curly Hair had the ability, work experience, and a recommendation. As long as there were no problems with the background check and they lacked dogs, they were willing to give him a chance. But who would have thought that this dog's test results would be so good? The people at the testing center were discussing the test results. Feng Zhao is still all right. After all, his dog isn't a professional inspection dog and can't compare to the 2 elite dogs from the Police Dog Academy. But overall, he can be considered a top-notch dog. He's worth 200 million, so it isn't considered hype. He's still a small pet dog. His discipline isn't good enough either. Why don't you say that his pet dog already has this ability? He isn't any worse than the elite dogs from the Police Dog Academy. This result is enough for him to enter the inspection team. If Curly Hair had only ranked in the top 10s or even lower, they would have hesitated. After all, this was a pet dog, and the owner was still a reserve duty soldier. However, the higher-ups had said that the security checks this time would be upgraded. They didn't lack good inspection dogs, but there weren't many with such good test results. Half of them were serving in outer spaceports or on outer planets. After some discussion, they ultimately decided to keep curly hair. Thus, the Whale Island Conference inspection team's only inspection dog with a political appearance was born. Feng Zhao had just returned to his dormitory when he received the official notification. "We passed the test," Feng Zhao said. Curly Hair wagged his tail vigorously, seeking praise. He had followed Feng Zhao's instructions for today's test. Feng Zhao had given Curly Hair more food and unlocked the gaming restrictions so that Curly Hair could play to his heart's content tonight. After all, once he entered the conference for a mission, he wouldn't be able to touch a game console for at least 2 weeks. After informing Nan Feng and the other two of the new arrangements, Feng Zhao contacted Mo Lang and informed him of the results. Mo Lang was silent for a while before sighing. "I won't say much about the things that need to be reminded. The relevant person in charge should have told you to keep things confidential during the conference. Pay attention to your own safety." "I told the outside world that I was going into seclusion. My assistant has already made arrangements," Feng Zhao said. "When are you going over there?" "They informed me that I will report tomorrow." Mo Lang sighed again. His heart was stifled. There were too many things he wanted to say, but he couldn't spit them out. He had considered all aspects, but he hadn't expected that the conscription order would mess up all his plans. No matter how unwilling he was, he still had to let Curly Hair go. Luckily, Feng Zhao wouldn't be going on a mission for long, only about 2 weeks. It was the end of the year, and the internet was reporting on the annual meetings of various large companies, celebrations, thank-you meetings of advertisers, etc. Every day was like a festival. News of Chu Bo's concert application had also been released. Next year, he might hold concerts in various continents. Furthermore, news had just been released today that Chu Bo would appear at Jinzhou's New Year celebration. This would have been impossible in the past. Who would be willing to listen to Chu Bo scold people at the New Year celebration? What a bad influence. Jinzhou's Ministry of Cultural Affairs still cared about their reputation. Now that Chu Bo could control his voice, having him attend the New Year's Eve celebration would attract a lot of attention. However, when Chu Bo was mentioned, someone mentioned Feng Zhao, who had performed on the same stage as Chu Bo during the Star Cup victory ceremony. Speaking of which, there hasn't been any news of Feng Zhao since the Star Cup victory ceremony performance. I wonder if Feng Zhao will be attending Yenzhou's New Year celebration. Rumor has it that Feng Zhao has been locked up by some big shot to write a thesis. That doesn't mean that he can't even make time for the New Year's gala. He even participated in the Star Cup celebration. Who else has inside information? Come out and reveal it to me. Wang Tai. Don't play dead. Wang Tai, who was dragged out by netizens every time he played dead, expressed his anger. He also wanted to fight back, but his paparazzi king instincts told him that he should choose to give up, especially this time. Forget it. He would release some big news about a certain movie queen in advance tomorrow to divert attention. The official account of Silver Wing Media, one of Yenzhou's 3 big entertainment companies, also had quite a number of messages regarding Feng Zhao. "Hey, where's your family's Feng Zhao? He should be dragged out for a walk." No matter what, Feng Zhao is also a Yenzhou citizen. Of course he has to come to our Yenzhou for the New Year's Eve celebration. Don't let that Huangzhou little bitch snatch him away. Right. Huangzhou just loves to snatch other people's celebrities. Even Silver Wing Media's internal artists were discussing in private. Did the company look for Feng Zhao this year? The spots for Yenzhou's New Year's Eve celebration were split among a few large entertainment companies. In addition, there were also some independent singing and acting stars. The competition was already intense, and with Feng Zhao, their chances were even slimmer. However, Silver Wing's upper echelons were also worried. They really wanted to look for Feng Zhao, but the problem was that they could only contact Feng Zhao's assistant. They simply couldn't find Feng Zhao himself. At this moment, Feng Zhao, who many people were concerned about, had already brought Curly Hair into the Whale Island region. Whale Island was a man-made island off the coast of Huangzhou. It was surrounded by lakes on all 4 sides, and in the center of the island was a huge building that looked like a whale. That was the venue for the Whale Island Conference. There was still a week before the Whale Island Conference, but the Whale Island region had already been busy since half a year ago. Feng Zhao brought Curly Hair to the registration window and handed in his gun, personal terminal, clothes, communication tools, firearms, and equipment. During the mission, he was not allowed to contact the outside world. If there was an urgent matter, he could make an application. If there was an emergency call, there would be a special person to pass the message. In short, all he had to do was carry out the mission properly and not think about anything else. Chapter 4:12. In a certain tea room in the Whale Island region's guest house, Baiji Military District's commanding officer, Shanta, swept his gaze across the room and laughed heartily. Everyone is here so early? The captain of the Fomalhaut exploration ship, Majika, and the captain of the Arcturus exploration ship, Luo Sha, raised their heads to look at Shanta, who had just entered, and then turned their faces away. Why aren't you talking to an old friend? Shanta grinned as he pulled over a chair and sat down. In the past, the two of you were always on the move. It was rare for us to meet. Captain Luo Sha's tone was impatient. I get annoyed just looking at you. Shanta laughed even more happily. Ha 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 ha. From a certain point of view, both of you are my benefactors. Who asked you to block Feng Zhao's application back then? Back then, if these two captains had not blocked Feng Zhao's application for military service, Feng Zhao would not have gone to planet Baiji, would not have discovered the new mine, and the Baiji military district would not have been established so quickly. Contrary to Shanta's mood, the two captains, Rasha and Majika, had come to attend this meeting with heavy hearts. Due to the discovery of the Alcade, there might be changes to the overall exploration mission. They were very passive this time. It was no wonder that Captain Luo Sha was in a bad mood. It just so happened that Shanta had stabbed him in the heart. Shanta was not annoyed that the two captains were ignoring him. He turned around and saw that Y Base Commanding Officer Hua Yi was planning to slip away, so he hurriedly called him back. Hua Yi, I've long heard that Planet Y has been developing pretty well recently. Why are people saying that you even want to snatch other people's dogs? This time, when Hua Yi had recommended Feng Zhao to join the Whale Island Conference inspection team, Baiji Military District naturally knew about it. If it had been anyone else, they would not have reported it to Shanta. As the commanding officer of a foreign planet garrison, he was very busy every day and simply could not care less about such minor matters. However, Feng Zhao held a special significance to planet Baiji. When Baiji Military District received the news, they immediately reported it to Shanta. Of course, Shanta would not let Hua Yi block this kind of opportunity to earn military merits. After asking around, he found out that Hua Yi from Y Base had personally recommended Feng Zhao. Shanta immediately thought it through. He could not let Hua Yi gain favorable impressions alone. He was still hoping that in the future, Feng Zhao would enter his military district after his artistic path failed or he got bored of it. How many people were coveting Feng Zhao's ears now? As a result, Baiji Military District and Y Base had the intention to facilitate it. Coupled with the fact that the vetting process had been approved, the draft order had been issued to Feng Zhao. Otherwise, even if it was because of curly hair, why would a reserve duty soldier like Feng Zhao be called over? Back then, when Feng Zhao had been transferred to Planet Baiji's reserve duty, Shanta had placed Feng Zhao first among the Baiji military districts and not Yenzhou military districts. Therefore, Shanta had long since classified Feng Zhao as part of his own military district. But now that Hua Yi had designs on Feng Zhao and even wanted to snatch Feng Zhao's dog, he had no choice but to be on his guard. Hua Yi could still act mighty in front of others, but he could not do so in front of Shanta. He put on a fake smile and said, "How can it compare to your family having a mine? We're having a hard time over there. The facilities at the airport can't keep up, and our manpower is limited. We can only find a way to bring in a few more dogs." Not too far away, Bu Base Commanding Officer Flemington's face twitched as he listened to their conversation. I really want to shoot these pretentious fellows whose families are rich in resources and resources. In terms of poverty, who can compare to our planet Bu? If Feng Zhao and the others hadn't gone to planet Bu to help the poor and discover the Alcade, our Bu base would still be eating dirt. There were already 7 or 8 high-ranking military officers in this small tea room. The lowest rank was Lieutenant General. If they weren't exploration ship captains, they were garrison commanders of certain planets, or military officers carrying out special missions. To sum it up, they had all left their home planet to make a living. There were many similar tea rooms throughout the entire Whale Island region. They were all military officers, technicians, engineers, and the like. In the next few days, there would be a few more important figures arriving one after another. The security work of the entire Whale Island region was being carried out at all times. Somewhere in the Whale Island region, Feng Zhao brought his allocated items into the dormitory. This building was the residence of the inspection team members that had been formed for this conference. The decorations in the dormitory weren't inferior to those for humans. Standing by the window, he could see the training area specially set up for dogs in the large courtyard. There were trainers playing with the dogs. After tidying up a bit, Feng Zhao called for Curly Hair, who had just finished patrolling the dormitory. Let's go down and get to know our teammates. They first went to the inspection team captain's office on the first floor to report to Captain Zhao Chao. Zhao Chao was previously from the Huangzhou Spaceport Anti-Smuggling Bureau and was the captain of the inspection team for this conference. Zhao Chao was very familiar with the public figure Feng Zhao, but he was more curious about Curly Hair. A dog whose test results were in the top 3 was actually a pet dog. And a tiny one at that. However, now wasn't the time to ask about miscellaneous matters. Zhao Chao gave Feng Zhao a brief introduction of the inspection team's current situation. Our team has many members, but there are only 35 inspection dogs. Including Curly Hair, there are now 36. Everyone is getting along rather well. Before he could finish speaking, someone entered. Captain. Those two are facing off again. Zhao Chao paused for a moment and said to Feng Zhao without a change in expression. There are 2 exceptions. Let's go over and take a look first. As they walked, Zhao Chao explained the situation of those 2 dogs to Feng Zhao. Due to the Whale Island Conference, a batch of outstanding military and police dogs had been transferred over from various locations. Currently, nearly half of the dogs in the team were inspection dogs. After a period of familiarization, these elite service dogs from different locations and positions had already started to adapt to their new working environment. They were getting along rather well, except for 2 dogs. Normally, we call him K. Of course, if you call him King, he will be even happier. Smart, courageous, confident, doesn't rely on his trainers, obedient, can carry out missions independently, and has investigated bombs independently. Belongs to the omnipotent hunting dog bloodline. Large-sized dog, shepherds and guards, climbs trees, jumps over walls, isn't afraid of heights, can catch fish in the water, and can carry out all kinds of difficult missions on land. He is a natural warrior and also a workaholic. The other dog, Thornhead, is also a large-sized dog. He is also very smart and capable, but he has an explosive temper. Normally, he carries out investigations and other police missions and is active in various anti-smuggling war zones. Because he has received professional guard dog training, he is very fierce to strangers and only accepts the trainers he is most familiar with. He doesn't listen to anyone else. His movements are swift and violent, and he is extremely adaptable to the environment. This bloodline belongs to the category of military and police dogs, and Thornhead is currently one of the most outstanding police dogs. He is really smart, just that his personality is a little sensitive, and his mood swings are rather intense at times. From Zhao Chao's tone, Feng Zhao knew that he was fond of these 2 dogs but also had a headache. However, from Zhao Chao's tone when introducing them, he was more inclined towards Thornhead. Thornhead carried out many missions at the various spaceports, so he naturally had more contact with Zhao Chao than Kay. Thus, this bias was normal. These 2 were also guard dogs with high combat strength during the period of destruction. They had undergone continuous breeding and improvements in the new era, so their appearances were somewhat different. However, whether it was their intelligence or abilities, they had all improved. Zhao Chao sighed somewhat worriedly. These 2 are the kings of their respective fields. Normally, kings don't meet kings, and we only meet during exchange competitions. Every time we meet, the atmosphere isn't very good. Now that we have formed a team, we meet again. After being on Whale Island for so many days, it's still the same. Zhao Chao hoped that the dogs in the team could get along harmoniously. What would happen if they encountered a situation that required the cooperation of a few dogs to carry out a mission? Thus, he hoped that before the Whale Island Conference officially started, the dogs in the team could get along like comrades. Only then would they be able to complete the mission perfectly. Thus, even if those 2 didn't get along, Zhao Chao still let their trainers hold them and interact more. Fortunately, the number of times they really came to blows wasn't too many. After all, they were both trained and meticulously selected dogs. They had self-control, and their trainers would also hold them back. As he spoke, Feng Zhao had already seen the two dogs in the middle of the passageway. Even if he had never seen these two before, he could tell them apart at first glance. Inside the passageway, facing Feng Zhao's side was Kay. He was sturdy but not cumbersome, and his physique matched that of an omnipotent hunting dog. He looked extremely vigilant, and his brown eyes were currently emitting an ominous glint. As for the dog with its back facing Feng Zhao, it had short fur and a dark back. It was well developed and had a valiant aura. There was a tuft of fur on its head that was slightly longer, and it looked like it had a small point on its head. This was Thornhead. During the test before joining the Whale Island Conference inspection team, the two dogs whose results were ahead of Curly Hairs were Kay and Thornhead. Kay was first, and Thornhead was second. In terms of overall ability, Thornhead was still slightly inferior. Looking at the current situation, if these two could speak, it would probably be like this: Kay, this Emperor is number one. Thornhead, fuck off. This daddy isn't convinced. If Zhao Chao wanted these two dogs to get along, he wouldn't be able to achieve his goal in the short term. During the period of destruction, in a team with many dogs, there would only be one lead dog, Feng Zhao said softly. Of course I know. Zhao Chao sighed. Don't worry, they are smart and won't fight. They are just competing on their imposing manner. Curly Hair squatted by Feng Zhao's feet for a while, yawned, and raised his paw to scratch Feng Zhao's trousers. Feng Zhao glanced at Curly Hair and asked Zhao Chao in a low voice, Captain, where's the dog toilet? Over there. Fei Ying just came from that direction. Zhao Chao pointed ahead. In front of them, a trainer was leading a seemingly docile medium-sized dog over. Fei Ying was the dog's name. Feng Zhao had seen the sign for the dog toilet just now, but he felt that the path ahead was blocked by those two dogs, so he had asked Zhao Chao if there was another dog toilet on the first floor. But now that Zhao Chao said this, Feng Zhao could only give him an inquiring look. Those two dogs were still blocking the middle of the path. The middle section was now a battle zone. Zhao Chao knew what Feng Zhao was worried about and consoled him. It's fine. Look at Fei Ying. You guys just have to learn how to do it. Feng Zhao saw the trainer leading the dog over slowly while leaning against the wall. That dog called Fei Ying lowered its body and drooped its tail, practically sticking to the wall as it passed through the battle zone. Understood? Zhao Chao asked. Feng Zhao thought for a bit and nodded. Then he looked at Curly Hair. Understood? Curly Hair got up and walked over to the wall. Zhao Chao was satisfied when he saw this. Indeed, dogs that could pass the test were all very smart. But very quickly, the smile on Zhao Chao's face froze. Feng Zhao was leaning against the wall, even lowering his presence. His speed was neither fast nor slow, almost the same as Fei Ying's trainer. The problem was Curly Hair. Although it also walked close to the wall, it did not show a weak posture like the eagle. Instead, it happily swung its tail and trotted over with its paws. The few instructors present felt their hearts skip a beat. Before they could stop Curly Hair, they saw Thornhead, who had been facing off with Kay, take a bite out of Curly Hair. Of course, as an experienced and intelligent elite dog, Thornhead wouldn't really bite him to death. He was only threatening to express his anger. Curly Hair, who had been jogging towards the toilet, was startled silly. Then, he immediately pounced forward. Who would have thought that this little guy really dared to bite back? For a moment, dog barks, human roars, cries of pain, and screams rang out incessantly. In the middle of the passage, in the war zone, 3 dogs were fighting each other. The scene was extremely violent and indescribable. Remember love in 1 second. Mobile version, M. Chapter 413. A group of inspection team members who had just returned from their mission were chatting and laughing when they suddenly heard a burst of intense barking. There were also human voices. The surrounding dogs all tensed up and moved away. Even if they didn't move far away, they would stick close to their respective trainers with an uneasy look. They're fighting? Someone exclaimed. Which 2? No, it sounds like 3 dogs. Could it be that Kay and Thornhead are fighting? I knew they would fight sooner or later. It doesn't sound like it. I think so. Look at the other dogs' reactions. Other than those two, the others can't produce such an effect. Didn't they say they wouldn't fight before? Now they're really fighting? It sounds like they're fighting fiercely. When those two fight, the other dogs are cannon fodder. Hurry up and take a look. Every dog in the team was very precious. They didn't want to hurt the other dogs because of those two fighting. The team members with inspection dogs didn't go over. Those without dogs all ran over. They thought that if Kay and Thornhead were to fight, their trainers might not be able to hold them back. They needed to call a few more people over to help. The people in the courtyard and upstairs heard the commotion and surrounded the area. But soon, the barking stopped. Captain Zhao Chao's roar came from the passageway. What are you looking at? Go back. The people who were chased away knew that the other side had calmed down. They couldn't hold back their curiosity and gathered together to discuss. Did they really fight? A team member who was on night duty last night came over and asked. He was just catching up on sleep when he suddenly heard a burst of intense barking. He was so shocked that he immediately flipped out of bed. Who won? Kay or Thornhead? I don't know. I was chased back by the captain before I could see clearly. Hey, Xiaolu, you just came over. Did you see what happened? Someone asked when he saw Xiaolu coming over with an eagle. The eagle's trainer, Xiaolu, stroked the frightened eagle and shook his head at the person who asked. The captain doesn't allow people to talk. You can't say this? Can't you reveal a little? Was it Kay or Thornhead who won? Or was it a draw? A non-trainer member of the inspection team said. Xiaolu showed an expression that was difficult to explain and shook his head again. Don't ask. The battle ended as abruptly as it started. By the time someone else got the news and wanted to go check it out, the passageway had already disappeared. In a room upstairs, Thornhead, who had been led back to the dormitory, was currently lying on the ground. He was sobbing so hard that he was spasming. He even let out a wheezing sound. He didn't look the slightest bit imposing. She was angry, and sad. She had no way to vent and could only cry. The trainer, who was familiar with its temperament, also had a helpless look on his face. He had also suffered a great shock today. Originally, he thought that in this team, only Kay could suppress Thornhead. Unexpectedly, before the outcome of the battle between Kay and Thornhead was decided, Thornhead was pinned to the ground and bitten by the puppy. 2 tufts of fur were bitten off his neck. Fortunately, although the fur on Thornhead's neck wasn't long, it was thick enough, so it wasn't obvious. It was just that he couldn't recover from this blow in a short period of time. Thornhead, don't throw a tantrum with a puppy, the trainer said. You're a big puppy. Don't be so calculative with a little one. But as soon as he said puppy, Thorny sobbed even harder. Even the big dog couldn't beat the little one. The trainer also came back to his senses and quickly said, no matter what, we are still kings at work. Isn't that right? Thornhead's sobbing slowed down. The trainer comforted Thornhead while feeling vexed. He thought to himself, that puppy is really fierce. In another dormitory on the same floor, Kay was lying on the ground with his front paws crossed. His posture was the same as usual, but he didn't have that domineering aura from before. At this moment, his whole body was emitting a gloomy aura. The trainer said some comforting words at the side, but Kay didn't even look at the trainer. After listening for a while, he moved his chin to the other side and put on a "I'm very annoyed, don't be noisy" look. Seeing Kay like this, the trainer didn't say anything else. He just sat beside Kay and recalled the scene in the passageway. The blow Kay had received today wasn't small. It was probably even greater than the blow he had received when he failed his mission. When Thornhead and Curly Hair had started fighting, Kay had wanted to mediate, but he hadn't succeeded. Instead, he had been kicked away by Curly Hair. In a fit of temper, he had also joined the fight. In this kind of chaotic battle, when large dogs like Kay and Thornhead were enraged, the 2 trainers couldn't stop them, and there was no use in reprimanding them. Furthermore, it seemed like the 2 large dogs had joined forces to deal with the small dog. However, Kay had been kicked away again and again. In the past, he had never imagined that a large dog like Kay would be pushed by a small dog and rolled on the ground several times. He had also never imagined that the strong and ferocious Thornhead would be pinned to the ground and bitten by that small dog. At this moment, Kay's trainer had the same lament as Thornhead's trainer. That puppy is really fucking fierce. What kind of breed is it? Why haven't I heard of it before? Downstairs, in a certain dormitory, Curly Hair looked as though he had done something wrong. He shrunk his neck and lowered his head as he carefully watched Feng Zhao. Look at you. Did you bully them? But this time, it isn't your fault. The other party was the one who spoke first. Curly Hair, in the future, everyone will be on the same team. They are all your teammates. Don't bully the weak. Leave them some face. Also, don't think that you can slack off just because you are awesome. When it comes to work, you have to take it seriously. Feng Zhao was talking to Curly Hair when Zhao Chao sent him a message to bring Curly Hair upstairs to Thornhead's dormitory. Remember what I said before coming. Don't overdo it. Feng Zhao exhorted before leading Curly Hair upstairs. Zhao Chao was already waiting there. The moment Feng Zhao brought Curly Hair through the door, Thornhead let out a low growl. Curly Hair didn't reply. He obediently followed beside Feng Zhao's feet and put on an "I'm very obedient, I'm very well behaved" look. Feng Zhao was curious when he saw the tear stains on Thornhead's eyes. Zhao Chao had said that Thornhead's mood swings were rather intense. Feng Zhao hadn't expected him to cry like this after losing a match. Thornhead's trainer sensed Feng Zhao's gaze and coughed lightly before explaining. Thornhead didn't drink much water. It's just a bit inflamed. Feng Zhao nodded his head. So that's how it is. He understood how to take care of a working dog's mood. At this moment, Zhao Chao also spoke up. I just called the dog doctor over. In a bit, the dog doctor will take a look at them. Feng Zhao, Curly Hair isn't hurt anywhere, right? Zhao Chao had seen the situation clearly. Curly Hair didn't look like he had been bitten by Thornhead. As for Kay, Curly Hair would kick him to the side every time he got close, so he didn't have a chance to bite him. No, he's not hurt, Feng Zhao replied. That's good. Zhao Chao had a complicated expression as he glanced at Curly Hair, who was quietly squatting by Feng Zhao's feet. In a gentle tone, he said to Feng Zhao, Today, Kay and Thornhead were throwing a little tantrum. That's why they got into a fight. However, they won't get serious and won't bite you to death. Don't worry. Speaking of which, I didn't expect a little curly-haired dog like you to be so fierce when you flip out. Feng Zhao. Would you believe me if I said that he didn't get serious? If Curly Hair had gotten serious, it wouldn't have been just biting a few mouthfuls of fur and kicking him a few times. That would have been a light punishment. However, Feng Zhao couldn't say all this and could only respond with a few sentences. No matter what, this fight wasn't right. The 3 dogs were hauled out and placed in solitary confinement for 10 hours. 10 hours wasn't a long time, but no dog was willing to stay in solitary confinement for long. Now was the busy time. These 3 dogs were the top 3 elites in terms of results, and they were needed for missions. Zhao Chao couldn't possibly lock them up for a few days. This was the first time they had made a mistake in a fight, so they would receive a small punishment after 10 hours. After settling matters here, Zhao Chao went to report to the higher-ups. Because of Curly Hair's involvement, the team was able to get through the break-in period and operate better. Furthermore, looking at Curly Hair, he seemed to be very obedient. His battle prowess was also beyond imagination. Zhao Chao just didn't know how he would fare when it came to work. Chapter 4:14. Future Heavenly Kings has been delayed. Please wait for a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 4:15. Confinement didn't seem any different to Curly Hair. The 3 dogs were locked in 3 separate isolation rooms. Thornhead would whimper from time to time, sounding a little aggrieved and restless. Kay, who was next door, kept staring at something in silence. No one knew what he was thinking. Next door. Curly Hair was snoring loudly. Captain Zhao Chao, who treated every dog in the team as a treasure, couldn't help but come over to take a look after reporting to his leader. Thornhead and Kay were experienced dogs, and this wasn't their first time in solitary confinement. However, Curly Hair was different. Curly Hair was different. He was worried that this little dog wouldn't be able to adapt. If it triggered any psychological trauma, it would be troublesome. But very quickly, Zhao Chao looked at the little dog sleeping soundly in the confinement room. This was really a magical dog. After strolling around the solitary confinement room, Zhao Chao went to look for Feng Zhao. Feng Zhao, I just went to take a look. That little curly hair of yours is sleeping. Zhao Chao jokingly asked, did he go catch thieves last night? Feng Zhao was too embarrassed to say that the gamer dog had stayed up all night, so he smiled apologetically and said, he was too excited before, but now he has calmed down. Are you sure? Will there be any psychological trauma? Zhao Chao wanted to confirm with Feng Zhao again. I'm really fine, Feng Zhao affirmed. That's good. Zhao Chao hadn't come just for Curly Hair's confinement. His expression turned serious. Can you start work tomorrow? Yes. All right. From now on, until the end of the meeting, you are no longer a reserve member, and your dog is no longer a pet. Prepare yourself for battle. The battlefield isn't just a place with blood and flesh flying everywhere. During the Whale Island Conference, the entire Whale Island region will be our inspection team's battlefield. Yes. Feng Zhao's attitude was serious, and his posture was very accurate. Zhao Chao was very satisfied and told Feng Zhao about his work arrangements. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the workload was heavy. Because of the importance of the meeting, the inspection team would work 3 shifts every day before the official start of the meeting. They even had to work overtime during the few days of the meeting. Apart from that, they would also be assigned to patrol, inspect, and attend classes from time to time. Although Curly Hair had served on Planet Y before, it had been a long time since he was on a mission. Thus, Zhao Chao had specially added training sessions for both Curly Hair and Feng Zhao. 10 hours later, Feng Zhao went to the solitary confinement room to bring Curly Hair back. When he went to look for him, Curly Hair was still sleeping. When the others saw this, they even said to Feng Zhao, "You dogs sure have a big heart." It was rare to see a dog sleeping so soundly in the solitary confinement room. This wasn't something worth boasting about. After returning to the dormitory, Feng Zhao gave Curly Hair a lecture and made him stand in the corridor and reflect on himself. When the other team members saw this, they had originally thought that Feng Zhao was too arrogant and willful, did not understand respect, and flouted discipline. Now, they came over to persuade Feng Zhao. Look, Captain Zhao didn't say anything. Don't be too strict, an inspection team member who passed by said. Yeah, I heard he was locked up for 10 hours? It's already so late. Has the little guy eaten yet? He should at least drink some water, right? Don't starve, another person advised. After all, it used to be a pet dog. Since it could stay here, it must be capable. As long as it could complete the mission and not cause trouble, there was no need for high expectations. All the team members thought. However, Feng Zhao still let Curly Hair reflect on himself outside the door for an hour before letting him in. Curly Hair still had this bit of intelligence. It was just that he wasn't willing to use his brain sometimes. After being reprimanded by Feng Zhao, Curly Hair realized his mistake and was very serious when he reflected on himself outside. He would crouch there with his head drooped and his ears drooped, looking very pitiful. Only when a team member called out to him would he look over with those innocent dog eyes before continuing to reflect on himself. Regardless of the truth, Curly Hair's introspection and obedience had won back the goodwill of many of the team members. After Curly Hair entered the dormitory and closed the door, Feng Zhao knocked on his head. Remember this time. The dog food distributed by the team was of the highest quality. However, the amount was too little for Curly Hair. Endure it for now. Wait for the conference to end, Feng Zhao told Curly Hair. In his heart, he was thinking about how to request for more dog food. The amount he had received today had already been the result of his request. In the eyes of others, given Curly Hair's size, this was the most he could eat. He wouldn't easily increase the amount. The next day, Feng Zhao wore the inspection team's uniform and helped Curly Hair put on a little vest. Like Feng Zhao and the other inspection team members, the little vest had the word inspection written on it and even had the logo of the Whale Island Conference. Perhaps because Curly Hair had had enough sleep, or perhaps because he had recalled his time at Y Spaceport, He was rather energetic on his first day on duty. Seeing this, Zhao Chao also praised. His mental state isn't bad. Keep it up. Their first day on duty was a day shift. Today, after their patrol, they still had to make a few trips to the warehouse. The warehouse was filled with the luggage of today's conference participants and a portion of them. After going through the security checks, they still had to let the inspection dogs do a thorough check. Similar to the spaceport, when entering the Whale Island region, the conference participants and a portion of their luggage had to go through security checks. Nearly a third of the people from Muzhou recognized Curly Hair. As for the remaining portion, they either didn't pay attention or didn't dare recognize Curly Hair because he was wearing the Whale Island Conference inspection vest. For Muzhou people, no matter where they went to work, watching sheep herding competitions to understand the situation in their hometown was something that most people loved to do. Curly Hair, the dog that had forced Muzhou to change its rules, had left a deep impression on many people. Feng Zhao didn't care about the gazes of those Muzhou people. He had to focus more on his work. Not every conference participant was content with their lot. There would always be some people who would crazily test the waters out of curiosity. These kinds of people were the most vexing to the inspection team. You have no way of knowing what kind of dog's hit they are thinking, an inspection team member told Feng Zhao. Not far away, two reporters, one old and one young, who had just arrived at Whale Island region, were waiting for their luggage in the designated area outside the warehouse. Master, are those Whale Island region inspection dogs? The young reporter asked in a low voice. They all look rather docile. There are even puppies. They are a little cute. The old reporter didn't even raise his eyes as he warned in a low voice. No matter how docile or cute a dog looks, it isn't something you can touch. Sensing that his young disciple's curious gaze had yet to return, the old reporter patted his disciple on the shoulder and pointed to the warehouse. Do you see the trainers beside them? That's right, the ones with the word inspection on their backs and those who carry guns. Why don't you go over and try touching the dogs in front of them? The young reporter shook his head vigorously when he heard the words carry guns. Seeing that his young disciple was intimidated, the old reporter revealed a satisfied smile. Listen more, look more, talk less. All right, our luggage is here. The young reporter hurriedly went over to retrieve his luggage. When he raised his head, he saw a person and his eyes widened. Ah! I told you not to make any noise. If you can't control your mouth, then scram. The old reporter hurried over and berated him in a low voice. The young reporter still wanted to say something, but he was forced back by the old reporter's gaze. I told you before we came. Whatever you see or hear in Whale Island region, don't make any noise. The young reporter's gaping mouth took a great deal of effort to close. He dragged his luggage and followed the old reporter to the designated place to stay. After closing the door, the old reporter inspected the room. He knew that the Whale Island region wouldn't install cameras in the rooms, but it was his professional habit to personally inspect the room. The old reporter relaxed only after the inspection was complete. Tell me, what were you making noises about just now? The young reporter got excited when this was mentioned. Master, I saw Feng Zhao just now. That actor. No, composer, that Feng Zhao who was praised by the military some time ago. In this line of work, his eyesight wasn't bad. The young reporter didn't think that he had seen wrongly. Furthermore, there was also Feng Zhao's dog. He had gathered information about Feng Zhao on the internet and knew about Feng Zhao's dog. That little dog was also wearing an inspection vest today. The old reporter naturally knew about Feng Zhao. After being astonished for a while, he calmed down. So what? We are a proper and serious news agency, not some entertainment reporter who casually blabbers. Why is Feng Zhao here? Before I came, I saw on the internet that Feng Zhao would appear at Fiery Bird's end-of-year customer gratitude ceremony. But today, I actually see Feng Zhao at the inspection team. The young reporter was flabbergasted. All right, put away your exuberant curiosity. It wasn't easy for us to obtain our reporter pass. Don't get chased out. Let me remind you again. There are more big shots in the Whale Island region during this period of time. Even if you see someone with a general star on his shoulder, don't act like you haven't seen the world. There are many high-ranking military officers attending the meeting. In this place, major generals can be found everywhere. Lieutenant generals are plentiful. Cough, in any case, there are many. Pay attention. I understand. The young reporter nodded his head. He was just curious. Since Feng Zhao was at the inspection team, what about Fiery Bird's end-of-year customer gratitude ceremony? Rumors had spread like it was real. He had really thought that Feng Zhao would appear at Fiery Bird's end-of-year customer gratitude ceremony. Huangzhou, Fiery Bird headquarters. It was the end of the year, and Fiery Bird was indeed preparing for the end-of-year customer gratitude ceremony. The celebrities who would be endorsing their products had all been contacted, except, where's Feng Zhao? Why isn't Feng Zhao on the list? Was he not informed or did he reject? The person in charge of the end-of-year customer gratitude ceremony looked at the name list in his hands with a frosty expression. In the end, Fiery Bird was still a commercial company. Commercial interests were the most important. Among high-end products, Feng Zhao was also an important spokesperson. He could also drive traffic and product sales. He should have been on the end-of-year customer gratitude ceremony invitation list. No, Feng Zhao has already explained to us. He said that he couldn't find the time and expressed his apologies. I heard that he went into seclusion to compose. I even heard that old Master Mo Lang was personally watching over him, a member of the planning team said. You even believe this? Previously, he had the time to attend Star Cup's victory ceremony, but he didn't have the time to attend our end-of-year customer gratitude ceremony? He couldn't even find the time for a day. Now that he has become famous, he has become arrogant. Heh, is he certain that we won't dare to change our spokesperson? The room fell silent. The person in charge of the planning team knocked heavily on the table and said coldly, "Contact him again. Right now, call him personally." I can't get through. Continue calling. Call him until he picks up. Please remember this book's domain name. Writing Pen Chinese Network mobile version website. M. Chapter 4:16. The first call didn't work. It was still an automatic response. The second call didn't have an automatic response. It was directly transferred to Nan Feng. Hello, I am Feng Zhao's assistant. May I know who you are? Nan Feng had received quite a few calls from people looking for Feng Zhao. The person in charge's face darkened, and he snatched the communication device. I am the person in charge of Fiery Bird's year-end customer gratitude ceremony. Get Feng Zhao on the line immediately. Upon hearing that it was someone from Fiery Bird, Nanfeng's tone became much more serious. He was about to explain when he said, I am really sorry, Feng Zhao he. I don't want to listen to that. Put Feng Zhao on the phone. Sorry, he really can't, do. Before Nanfeng could finish speaking, the other side hung up. Nanfeng wiped the sweat off his forehead. He was a little worried for Feng Zhao. That was Fiery Bird. If Feng Zhao did not give a good explanation, he might lose the endorsement deal next year. His future collaboration with Fiery Bird would also be affected. However, there was really no way to explain the situation with Feng Zhao. He could only wait until the meeting was over. For now, he could not reveal anything. Nanfeng dared to guarantee that if he leaked this matter now, he wouldn't have to wait until tomorrow to receive news that Feng Zhao had been kicked out of the Whale Island region. Would he offend Fiery Bird or be kicked out of the Whale Island region? There was no need to ask Feng Zhao. Nanfeng already had his choice. Sigh, let's wait for the boss to finish his mission before going over to explain. My words carry little weight. They won't listen to me. Nanfeng felt an itch in his heart when he saw his friends flaunting and showing off to various events. However, he couldn't show off. On the other side, in the preparatory team for Fiery Bird's year-end customer gratitude ceremony, the person in charge dialed for the third time with a cold expression. He was thinking that if the third time was the same as the previous 2 times, he would suggest to the higher-ups that they change the spokesperson next year. Yes, Feng Zhao's ears were very special, and he had been praised by the military before and had even received a relatively high artistic achievement award, but he couldn't be this arrogant. Acting like a big shot in front of Fiery Bird? In less than 5 minutes, he had made 3 consecutive calls. This time, there was no automatic response or transfer to Feng Zhao's assistant. Instead, an unfamiliar voice answered. Hello, what can I do for you? He replied in a formulaic manner without any enthusiasm. The person in charge raised an eyebrow. I'm looking for Feng Zhao. Get Feng Zhao to the phone. Feng Zhao is busy right now and can't make time. If you have something urgent, I can help convey it. The person in charge took a deep breath, anger flashing across his face. Tell him, in half an hour. No, in 10 minutes, get back to me. Otherwise, he can forget about being Fiery Bird's spokesperson for next year. The person in charge threw the intercom on the conference table with a stern face. He was in a very bad mood. Even the other members of the planning team were trembling with fear. 10 minutes later, there was no call. The person in charge's anger escalated. He left a message for the head of headquarters, Deputy CEO Tang Can, explaining how Feng Zhao had rejected Fiery Bird's year-end customer gratitude ceremony and had disappeared. He also suggested kicking Feng Zhao off the list of collaborators for next year. Tang Can quickly replied, "You can be in charge of the year-end customer gratitude ceremony. You don't have to ask me about this. We can talk about other things in the future." Sigh, the way Feng Zhao handled this matter is indeed. Elsewhere, Tang Can had arrived at Whale Island with a few other heads of headquarters. He hurriedly replied to the planning team and didn't have time to say anything else. Right now, all his thoughts were on the Whale Island conference. He really couldn't be bothered with the year-end customer gratitude ceremony and had left it all to the person in charge of the planning team. All right, I'm busy over here. I'm afraid I won't be able to attend the year-end customer gratitude ceremony for a period of time. Don't contact me if there's nothing particularly important. After saying this, Tang Can ended the call and followed the other heads of headquarters out of the flying transport. This time, as some of Fiery Bird's products were related to military engineering, the Whale Island Conference was fortunate enough to tag along and gain some experience. Having only participated in a few conferences, continuing to be promoted was just a pipe dream. This was Tang Can's second time participating in the Whale Island Conference. The last time was 10 years ago, when he had snatched a spot to participate. This time, his status was slightly higher. Standing once again at Whale Island Airport, Tang Can felt rather rueful. I'm not sure if I'm mistaken, but Whale Island's security is even stricter than 10 years ago. Tang Can sighed. You're right. The security is indeed stricter this time around. All of you should check your belongings once again and see if you've brought anything outside the regulations, a Fiery Bird head office head said. After doing a self-check and placing their luggage on the conveyor belt, Tang Can's group followed the signs and headed for another passageway. Other airports were filled with a sense of clamor. But here, the solemn atmosphere permeated every nook and cranny. All the attending personnel subconsciously lightened their movements, and their words and actions were filled with caution. After passing through layer after layer of security checks, Tang Can's back was covered in a layer of sweat. The others weren't much better. Let's take a break first. We'll collect our luggage in a bit, the head said. Tang Can got up and went to the pantry to get a few cups of water. He passed them to the others and kept the last cup for himself. As he drank the water, he observed his surroundings. There were also people from other companies who had arrived at roughly the same time as his group. They were all familiar faces and had worked together before. They smiled and greeted them softly. There seemed to be a few familiar faces that he couldn't place but had some impression of. As Tang Can looked around, he searched for information in his mind. When his gaze swept to a certain spot, Tang Can froze. At the exit that they had just passed through, there were two people standing on the left and right, both with dogs on their leashes. They were people from the Whale Island Region Inspection Team. They simply hadn't noticed them when they had come out of the exit. Feng Zhao was watching the attending personnel coming out of the airport, searching for any suspicious points that might exist in these people. Sensing Tang Can's gaze, Feng Zhao paused slightly and nodded slightly in Tang Can's direction before continuing to look at the other arriving personnel. The gaze under the brim of the hat was as sharp as a hunting eagle scanning the hunting grounds. It made Tang Can's insides tremble. Cough. Cough cough. Tang Can choked until his face turned red. What's wrong? The other members of his group asked with concern. No, nothing. I just felt that the atmosphere was too tense and didn't pay attention and choked, Tang Can said. You haven't participated in this sort of meeting in a long time. It's normal to feel this way. Relax. As long as you don't do anything shameful and act according to the rules, you don't have to worry about the inspectors and guards dragging you out for questioning. Another older person consoled him with a smile. Tang Can thought to himself, don't say any more. I'm already feeling guilty. His gaze drifted over to Feng Zhao. After confirming that he wasn't mistaken, Tang Can sent a message to the person in charge of the year-end customer gratitude ceremony. Don't bother about Feng Zhao's matters for now. The person in charge, who was busy preparing for the year-end customer gratitude ceremony, was at a loss for a moment when he received this message. However, he quickly thought things through. Where was Tang Can? Whale Island. Why hadn't Tang Can mentioned this before and had sent him this message when he had just arrived at Whale Island? From his tone, it seemed like he had received a fright. Could it be Boss Tang had seen Feng Zhao on Whale Island? But did Feng Zhao have the qualifications to go to Whale Island? Could it be that he was there to perform? In an instant, dozens of possibilities flashed through the person in charge's mind. Regardless of which one it was, he could at least deduce that the probability of Tang Can meeting Feng Zhao on Whale Island was over 70%. If it involved the Whale Island conference, he really couldn't tell the truth, let alone explain things clearly to them. Oh right, if Feng Zhao was on Whale Island and couldn't casually make calls, then who had picked up the third call? Who had he flipped out at? The person in charge's expression fluctuated from green to red and then to white. When the other people in the planning team saw this, they couldn't figure out what this person was pondering. After the other people in the planning team had said what they wanted to say and things had been settled, the person in charge summarized and finalized the arrangements for the various continent spokespersons. Finally, he said, as for Feng Zhao, the other people in the planning team were still waiting for their team leader to flip out. They were guessing whether this team leader had already complained to the higher-ups and wanted to kick Feng Zhao's endorsement rights for next year. Who knew? The person in charge had a mild expression on his face and did not look angry at all. He even had a faint smile that seemed to be able to accommodate 10 fleets. Perhaps Feng Zhao really has some inconveniences. When he has time in the future, let's listen to his explanation. We can't treat our collaborating artists harshly. We have to give them a chance to explain. The other people in the planning team. Who's being harsh? Boss, that's not what you said previously. As expected of the planning team leader. His attitude changed faster than one could flip a book. Huangzhou, Whale Island region. When Feng Zhao returned to his dormitory from the airport, he received a message from the operator. There was no way for him to explain to the Fiery Bird's customer gratitude ceremony preparation team. He could only wait until the conference ended. However, when he thought about the Fiery Bird deputy director he had met today, perhaps he wouldn't need to explain himself after the conference. The other side would know the reason. Not long after returning to his dormitory, Feng Zhao was called over by Captain Zhao Chao. Can you adapt to the workload now? No problem, Feng Zhao replied. Very good. The closer we get to the conference, the heavier the workload. You have to be prepared. If you have any requests, you can raise them. You can also raise any issues related to accommodation or food. Don't let other small matters affect your work, Zhao Chao said. Reporting to Captain, I would like to request an increase in the amount of dog food. Zhao Chao. Let's talk about something else. Feng Zhao's previous request had been rejected by the dog doctor. This time, needless to say, it would be rejected. Please remember this book's domain name. Writing Pen Chinese Network Mobile Edition website. M. Chapter 417. His request to increase the amount of dog food was once again rejected. Feng Zhao didn't say anything, but every time he went to the canteen, he ate even more. He wasn't completely full, but he was at least 70 to 80% full. However, even though it was only 70 to 80% full, it still scared many people. Everyone's impression of Feng Zhao went from that celebrity with good hearing to that big eater who could eat an entire pot at a time. As for the extra rations distributed to everyone, such as energy bars, compressed biscuits, and nutrient fluids, Feng Zhao left them all for Curly Hair. In any case, Curly Hair had a wide diet and a strong digestive system. Whatever he ate was fine. Just like that, the day before the start of the conference, the number of people entering Whale Island Airport was at its peak. Feng Zhao was assigned to the luggage area. After all, he was considered a public figure. The inspection team reduced the number of times they allowed him to appear in public. At the entrance of the Whale Island region, inside the media channel, reporters from various major media outlets were queuing up to pass through layers of security checks. As expected of the Whale Island region, the atmosphere here is really different. A reporter who was here for the first time took a deep breath to ease his nervous and excited emotions. The security check is very strict. Even tea is not allowed. Luckily, I didn't sneak anything in. Don't bring anything that isn't part of the rules. Look around. There are professional trainers, high-tech tools, elite anti-smuggling dogs, and some special military dogs. How can you avoid them so easily? The reporters whispered. In another passage about 10 meters away from the media passage, a group of people entered the island from the airport. The security procedures for the passage they took were different from those of the media. Their luggage was not separated from their bodies and checked separately. Many people were carrying suitcases. A major general walked over. Everyone from the Interplanetary Fund, please follow me. As he spoke, the Major General's gaze stopped on a child at the front of the group. The child's clothes had a bear head pattern on it, and he was playing with a black elastic ball as he walked. It should be an elastic ball, right? Sensing his gaze, the child gave him a childlike smile. The Major General's vigilance suddenly soared. He forced a stiff smile on his face and then turned around to lead the way. The superintelligence little bear did not care about the curious and guarded gazes of the surrounding soldiers. Instead, it looked around curiously, occasionally commenting on the security facilities here. Stronger than before, but not strong enough. Baggage inspection area. Feng Zhao brought Curly Hair to guard the conveyor belt. If there was anything suspicious in the luggage, Curly Hair would find it. The working dogs here all had their own areas of expertise. Some dogs were adept at finding flammable or explosive objects, while others were more sensitive to suspicious allergens. Now that the team had passed the breaking-in period, Curly Hair was the catalyst that had suppressed the other two dogs in the team. Only then did the team calm down. However, every dog had a score. After the Whale Island conference ended, they would be rewarded according to their ranking, and would be recorded in their files. Thus, there was still competition. He had to start working overtime these few days, so Feng Zhao was temporarily assigned to the night patrol team. He would only be able to rest at 8 a.m. the next day. Of the night. Feng Zhao. Feng of the night. Of Zhao. Of. And for all he. Of A, Feng and T Zhao, T2. Feng of the of. Ba. Of. T. I. When the sun rose the next day, the overtime was over. Feng Zhao left the warehouse with the rest of the overtime team when it was close to 8:30. Curly Hair was a little dispirited. It wasn't because he was tired. This amount of work might be a little stressful for other inspection dogs, but it wasn't much to Curly Hair. He looked a little dispirited like the other dogs. He was hungry. I'll get you something to eat at the canteen later, Feng Zhao said softly as he patted Curly Hair's head. Curly Hair wagged his tail. He wasn't too happy. He wasn't just hungry. He hadn't gamed in many days. There were many canteens in the Whale Island region. Feng Zhao followed the team to the canteen closest to the warehouse. The inspection dogs had also finished their dog food. Feng Zhao took the time to give Curly Hair some more. Let's go. Go back and rest. We still have a mission when we wake up. The team leader looked at the time and called for the team members who had already finished their meals to gather. In the Whale Island region, there were very few individuals who could move around freely. Other than the area near the building they lived in, the inspection team mostly moved in groups. The overtime team left. As Feng Zhao and the others were leaving, they saw some children being led into the canteen by their teachers. The conference would be held for at least 3 days. Naturally, it couldn't be held all the time. The atmosphere had to be livened up. There were performers of all ages, from kindergartens to senior citizens troops. These young performers were also here to perform, just like the other performers. Many of the children looked over curiously when they saw the inspection team's dogs. Feng Zhao even heard a little boy shout at his classmates behind him. Look, even the dogs are so orderly. We can't lose to the dogs. On their way back to the dormitory from the canteen, they would pass by the central plaza of the Whale Island region. The honor guard was already lined up here. The clock indicated 9 a.m. sharp, and the music spread. String music, flute music, and military drums were melodious and sorrowful. There was also an uplifting strength and hope. The final tune was like taking off one's armor and looking back. The warm wind brought with it the tranquility of the past war. The flags of the 12 continents and the insignia of the various bases were raised amidst the music, commemorating the largest and longest-lasting war in human history. It was a tribute to those who had sacrificed their blood and lives for the new era. When the music started, the inspection team that had returned from overtime stopped in their tracks and saluted. Only after the music ended did they continue on their way back. The Whale Island Conference had officially begun. The conference would last at least 3 days, and the inspection team's workload was even heavier. After returning to the dormitory, Feng Zhao didn't say much and went to bed first to recover his energy. When he woke up, Feng Zhao received a mission to patrol a few buildings. The first floor of every building had a designated resting area for inspection dogs. There was a dedicated dog toilet, and the dog's badge was hung on the dog's neck. Cleaning, washing, and massaging were fully automated. Working dogs were treated rather well. After patrolling a building, Feng Zhao brought Curly Hair to the dog toilet. When he arrived, Feng Zhao saw Thornhead's trainer waiting outside the toilet. Seeing Feng Zhao come over, the trainer smiled and greeted him. Our team was patrolling the neighboring building. There were too many people there, so I brought him over here. Thornhead was too tyrannical and was rather stubborn about his territory. He even made other dogs stick close to the wall when he went to the toilet. In Thornhead's territory, he had his own dedicated toilet. He was used to being tyrannical, and now, he wanted to use the public toilet as his own. His trainer had no choice but to bring him to another toilet every time. There was no helping it. This dog was capable, and his results during the mission in the Whale Island region had been excellent. The higher-ups were willing to give him special privileges and tolerate his temper. The leash around the dog's neck was retractable and would retract back to its collar after Feng Zhao released it. Feng Zhao released the leash and let Curly Hair enter the toilet while he spoke with Thornhead's trainer. In the toilet, Thornhead was squatting there solemnly shitting. When he saw Curly Hair enter, he jumped up in fright. "Oh!" Curly Hair shot him a glance and continued to walk around the toilet. He picked a pillar that was pleasing to the eye and lifted his leg to pee. After peeing, he ignored Thornhead, who was baring his teeth at the side, and prepared to go to the rest area of the toilet to brush his fur and relax. Suddenly, Curly Hair's nose twitched, and he turned his leg to the wall and sniffed carefully. The trainer waiting outside hurried in when he heard Thornhead's howl. Seeing that there wasn't a fight, he just stood at the door and watched. "What did he smell?" that trainer asked. Feng Zhao also looked over. He saw Curly Hair tear through the wall's mesh shell with one claw and pull out a palm-sized cylindrical object from within. The trainer, who was about to complain about the shoddy work and poor quality of the mesh, immediately exclaimed, "Deodorant." Curly Hair placed the deodorant cylinder beside Feng Zhao's feet. Thornhead's trainer fished out a portable security device and scanned it. There was no reaction. He looked at Thornhead beside him and saw that there wasn't any reaction either. Only then did the trainer's vigilance fade. Why is he biting the deodorant? Could it be that he doesn't like deodorant? Or does he dislike the noise from the machines inside? Thornhead's trainer didn't understand. As soon as the instructor finished speaking, Curly Hair bit down on the deodorant cylinder and tore the outer shell of the cylinder. Thornhead, who had been staring at Curly Hair, was now staring fixedly at the deodorant cylinder. Meanwhile, the portable security device on the trainer's body that hadn't been turned off instantly turned red and started beeping urgently. Needless to say, Feng Zhao hurriedly contacted the inspection team captain and reported the situation here. That trainer stared at the small cylinder as though it was a bomb and said to Feng Zhao, "This thing won't explode immediately, but the materials inside are prohibited from appearing here. Don't make a big fuss first. We have to catch the person behind this. Now let's deal with this thing first." "How do we deal with it?" Feng Zhao asked as he saw Curly Hair about to bite the cylinder. "You can't eat this." Feng Zhao stopped him. "Don't touch it." That trainer and Feng Zhao shouted at the same time. Their faces were pale. Although it wouldn't explode immediately. What if? What if there were other unknown materials inside? What if it suddenly exploded under pressure? Curly Hair's ability was really strong, but he didn't have any experience. Could this kind of thing be directly bitten? And Feng Zhao, what did he mean by can't eat it? The instructions given to the dog were completely wrong. This would give the wrong hint to the working dog. That trainer had a bellyful of things to say, but now wasn't the time for this. He had to deal with the situation before him first and impart some experience to Feng Zhao in private afterward. After quietly dealing with the matters here, Feng Zhao and that trainer left with the dog as though nothing had happened. The relevant personnel on Whale Island that dealt with such incidents also got into action. Those who investigated, and those who kept an eye on Curly Hair kept an eye on him. Feng Zhao continued patrolling the building with the inspection team. When no one was paying attention, he pried open Curly Hair's mouth and didn't see any suspicious residue. Once again he exhorted, "Don't eat randomly." Chapter 4:18. The inspection team's mission was to discover and report any danger. Feng Zhao and the others didn't have anything else to do. Whale Island region's internal security guards and other relevant personnel would investigate further. Feng Zhao only found out from inspection team Captain Zhao Chao the next day that they had caught someone. The cylinder that Curly Hair had found was split into two parts. One half was deodorant, and the other half was one of the materials used to make bombs. Zhang Ziyan had thought that if he could fool the dog's nose and the portable security detector, it would be better to put it in the dog toilet, where no one would think of it. After all, as the saying goes, the more dangerous the place, the safer it is. No one would think of putting something in the toilet of a working dog. When the time was right, they would get a designated person to take it out and make it into an explosive. The person who had planned this probably hadn't expected that a dog would still be able to sniff it out. However, based on the information they had obtained, it could be deduced that the item had been placed there beforehand. After all, this item wouldn't have been able to pass the high-level airport security checks during the conference. It could be confirmed that there were people inside and outside Whale Island. Now that 2 outsiders had been caught, there was no telling how many more were left. The people hidden within Whale Island had yet to be caught. Everyone has to be cautious these few days. Search carefully and don't let any suspicious areas slip by. Captain Zhao Chao called for a small meeting. Those on duty would have the meeting minutes for them to see. After exhorting them, Zhao Chao had Feng Zhao stay behind for a private chat. "Feng Zhao, you have to work hard. Bring Curly Hair to a few more places." Curly Hair's meritorious service surprised Zhao Chao. At the same time, he understood why Curly Hair, a pet dog, had been recommended here. This dog was truly capable. No wonder he was the dog that had forced Muzhou's sheep herding competition to change its rules. This kind of dog, whether it was in the anti-smuggling zone or in the special forces, was extremely popular. Following Feng Zhao was a waste of his talent. Furthermore, a dog that had been a sheepdog wasn't hot-blooded enough. What a pity! Feng Zhao's ears were good, but some things couldn't be done with good hearing. He still had to rely on a dog. However, Zhao Chao also knew that the person who had recommended Curly Hair and Feng Zhao had definitely taken a liking to Curly Hair. However, even that person hadn't been able to snatch the dog from Feng Zhao, so it was even more impossible for him. Now, he could only give Feng Zhao more missions. There was no other way. Who asked that dog to be so awesome? Capable people did more work. With the current situation, it's impossible to move the airport security equipment to every building. There are many places that aren't convenient to search, and the efficiency of searching is limited. Curly Hair's nose is very sensitive. You can lead him around more. Of course, if you have any additional requests, the team will try our best to satisfy them. Captain Feng Zhao said. "What? Do you want an extra meal?" Special cases were special. Zhao Chao gritted his teeth and went through the team doctor to approve extra rations. There was enough for both dogs and humans. "I know you can eat a lot, but your dog might not be the same as you. If you notice anything wrong with it, hurry and send it to the team doctor." Zhao Chao was still worried about Feng Zhao. Understood. Feng Zhao nodded. Also, keep a close eye on it. Don't let it eat random things. Don't let dogs eat random things that humans eat. Some things can't be given to dogs even if the amount is small. I know. I will keep an eye on him, Feng Zhao replied. It's good that you know what you're doing. Zhao Chao thought about how Feng Zhao had been raising dogs for quite some time and knew the basics. Seeing that Feng Zhao was serious and didn't look like he was being perfunctory, Zhao Chao felt a little more at ease. On further thought, people who could enter the Whale Island region weren't idiots. They all had rather high standards and wouldn't throw things around. Thus, there wasn't much for Curly Hair to eat. Thus, Zhao Chao was relieved. The specially approved extra rations arrived very quickly. Feng Zhao gave his portion to Curly Hair. If Curly Hair was hungry, he could go to the canteen. With an extra meal, Curly Hair's mental state was slightly better and he didn't keep staring at other dogs' bowls. The higher-ups wanted to give Feng Zhao a mission. After Feng Zhao agreed, Zhao Chao transferred 7 people over. 5 of them were about the same age as Feng Zhao, while the other 2 were slightly older. Zhao Chao had his own considerations when it came to this assignment. Feng Zhao's seniority was shallow, so it was fine for him to lead the younger team members. As for the 2 older ones, he was worried that the younger team members wouldn't have any experience and wouldn't know how to deal with situations. Around 3 p.m. on the second day of the Whale Island Conference, Feng Zhao was leading the team to patrol the building when he received a group notification from Zhao Chao. Southeast corner. Suspicious personnel discovered. Heading over to Building 15. Feng Zhao's current location was also in the southeast region of Whale Island. The team members who received the message hurriedly headed over. The suspicious personnel that Zhao Chao had mentioned had some ability to sneak in, avoid the surveillance cameras, and successfully escape capture. What Zhao Chao had meant was for the inspection team in the southeast region to bring their dogs over to assist the Whale Island Guard in their pursuit. Feng Zhao's team wasn't the closest, but they were still in this region. They had already finished patrolling the few buildings here and hadn't discovered anything out of the ordinary, so they rushed over in the direction Zhao Chao had mentioned. After running for a short distance, they encountered a fence that had been temporarily added during the conference. It wasn't far in a straight line, but going around the fence would take some time. A slightly older team member decisively pointed to the left. Go around there. Before he could finish his sentence, he saw that Feng Zhao had already flipped over. The fence was over 5 meters tall. In the blink of an eye, Feng Zhao had already reached the other side. Following closely behind Feng Zhao, 2 other young team members also flipped over. They climbed up and then fell. The other team members who had been preparing to flip over the fence. Do you have any tools? This sort of anti-climbing fence isn't easy to climb. Another person who had slid down from the fence said. If he hadn't tried it before, he would have really thought that this sort of fence was easy to flip over. His fingers had almost broken just now. The design and paint of this fence isn't easy to climb. Even if it was a temporary movable fence, it still wasn't easy to flip over. It was still possible with tools, but it was too difficult to do it bare-handed without tools. Some of the more experienced members in the team might succeed after a few tries, but to flip over as nimbly as Feng Zhao had, there really weren't many who could guarantee success. Most of the people assigned to Feng Zhao's team were younger. They could train dogs, but their individual abilities could only be considered above average. The 2 older members had experience, but their individual abilities were a little lacking. Furthermore, even if they could climb, they couldn't be like Feng Zhao and leave the dog behind to act alone. Feng Zhao, who had already flipped over to the other side, told his team members, I'll go over first. You guys make a detour and follow me. An older team member replied, Understood. You go over first. I'll help you hold the dog. Before he could finish, the team members discovered that Curly Hair had already made his way through the narrow gap below the fence and was standing beside Feng Zhao. Other team members. Who designed this fence? How could there be a gap at the bottom? Only a small dog like Curly Hair could squeeze through the gap below the fence. It was really too difficult for the others. Even if the shorter and skinnier ones could squeeze through, they couldn't just leave the dog behind, right? All the dogs in their small team were medium to large-sized dogs. Now wasn't the time to lament. They had to hurry and chase after Feng Zhao. They didn't have the ability to efficiently flip over the fence, nor could they squeeze through the gap like small dogs, so they could only speed up and make a detour. This was slightly more efficient than trying to climb over the fence. However, Feng Zhao was a youngster who specialized in literature. How could he flip over the fence so smoothly? Chapter 419. It's a little troublesome, and I can't make it tonight. See you guys tomorrow night. Future Heavenly King, M. Currently typing, please wait a moment. After the content has been updated, please refresh the page to receive the latest update. Chapter 420. When Feng Zhao found Zhao Chao was standing in front of a building talking to someone. He didn't look too good. The building was surrounded by island guards. Feng Zhao walked over after Zhao Chao ended the call. Did he go inside? Feng Zhao asked. Zhao Chao raised his hand and rubbed his forehead in distress. In the comprehensive laboratory building, 70% of the building doesn't allow animals outside of the laboratory to enter. Some of the guards have already gone in, and they have also contacted the staff in the building to cooperate. Right now, this building is only for entry and not exit. The laboratory building was the last place that inspection dogs wanted to go. Even if they were allowed to go in, their status would be affected. The atmosphere in the building made the inspection dogs nervous. Feng Zhao got Curly Hair to stay outside and let a member of the inspection team hold Curly Hair while he entered with Zhao Chao. This laboratory building was divided into 3 units. The target had entered from Unit 1. After the building was sealed, they would focus on searching Unit 1. The staff in the building received the order to stay in their respective offices or laboratories. They minimized going out and were also on guard against strangers. When Feng Zhao and the others entered the building, they were greeted by a man in white work attire. The badge on his chest indicated that he had a high status in the building. There was no trace of nervousness or unease on his face. Instead, there was an undisguised disgust. This disgust was not directed at Feng Zhao and the others, but at the intruders. You need to increase your efficiency. They hadn't even caught him yet. Can you imagine the disgusting feeling of suddenly discovering foreign bacteria in the sterile room? Chao Zhao paused and didn't reply. Instead, he introduced Feng Zhao and the others who had entered with him. This is the current person in charge of Unit 1 of the comprehensive laboratory building, a biochemical virus expert, Dr. Tim Nicholas. Here, the building manager of the laboratory building was completely different from the building manager of the student dormitory. His status was equivalent to the CEO of a company, and many of the laboratory projects in the building were also presided over by this building manager. If the inspection team, island district guards, and related investigators wanted to search the building, they would need his authorization. Otherwise, it would be inconvenient to enter and exit the building. Of course, the building manager was quite cooperative in the current situation. He handed over all the videos captured by the surveillance cameras in the building. However, he was not satisfied with the efficiency of the search. You can just call me Dr. Nick. Nick, the building manager, was only in his 50s this year. He was quite young in the field of scientific research. To be able to achieve his current status at this age, there was no doubt about his scientific research ability. However, what Zhao Chao didn't mention was that this building manager, Nick, had amazing research capabilities. With his capabilities and research results, 10 years ago, he was already in charge of many important projects and became the building manager of the island's experimental building. As for why he had only just become a building manager, he had offended too many people. Professor Nick didn't know what Zhao Chao was thinking. He had already introduced the building's division to the guards, and now he was giving Zhao Chao and the others a simple explanation. During the conference, there are at least 3 highly dangerous viruses stored here. But don't worry. Please trust the building's security system. Moreover, the viruses that could be brought in have been neutralized. Dr. Nick was very excited when he talked about the project he was working on. Biochemistry and viruses had always been popular fields. This was not only because of the period of destruction disaster, but also because of the immigration plan, which required the development of vaccines, antidotes and so on to improve defense capabilities. It was also because of this that this research field was able to get more funding, cultivate more talents, and produce more results. All biological substances that could be used as weapons were forbidden to be used. However, humans had never stopped researching them. Because of the disaster during the period of destruction, people would be afraid when talking about these things, but they had to overcome it. Dr. Nick rambled on and on. Seeing that he was getting more and more excited as he spoke, it seemed like he wouldn't stop talking. Zhao Chao called out to stop him. They didn't have the time to listen to Nick ramble on. They just needed to know the general situation in the building. The island district guards who had entered the building to search had yet to find the target. The surveillance cameras had only captured the moment the target entered the building and then disappeared. The laboratory building wasn't equipped with surveillance cameras everywhere. Some places weren't equipped with any surveillance equipment due to their secrecy. And the target was clearly someone who was good at avoiding surveillance cameras. It was indeed troublesome. Zhao Chao frowned. Looks like the help the surveillance cameras can provide is limited. Dr. Nick spread out his hands. I've already helped as much as I can. I'm very anxious now. Please understand the mysophobia of a virus researcher. Zhao Chao swept a glance at him. Just by looking at Nick's expression, apart from obvious disgust, he couldn't see any signs of anxiety. However, Zhao Chao was also worried about the current situation. He had contacted the island guard captain who had led the team over, but they hadn't found any clues either. The target was definitely inside the building. As for where he was hiding, they really wouldn't be able to find it in a short period of time. The building was so big. How long would it take to search? Every minute that passed meant more uncertainty and danger. How about we let the dogs in to search? When machines weren't reliable, Zhao Chao thought of dogs. Unit manager Nick didn't reply immediately. After thinking for a while, he said, "There are a few floors in the building that require specific clothes and all sorts of sterilization procedures. It doesn't matter for humans, but it's hard to say for dogs. There aren't any special clothes for dogs here. If you can't find a more efficient method, you can also bring the dogs in, but you bear the risk. Also, many places in the building have self-cleaning procedures. Even the most outstanding sniffer dogs might not be able to pick up the scent." Feng Zhao had been listening to the conversation between unit manager Nick and Zhao Chao, his gaze fixed on the surveillance screen. When he heard this, he said to Zhao Chao, "Curly Hair is just outside. The nearby inspection team members should have arrived. We can first bring them to search the floors that don't require complicated procedures. At the same time, if the surveillance cameras in the building have recordings, I can give it a try. My hearing isn't bad." A member of the island guard team shook his head. "We have already analyzed the recordings. There is too much noise in the building. It won't be easy to analyze the target's movements." The noise from all sorts of equipment in the building was too loud. Even after layers of filtering, they couldn't determine which were the target's movements and which were just noise. "I can give it a try," Feng Zhao said. Zhao Chao thought about it for a moment and agreed. He got the team members to bring in the inspection dogs waiting outside and search the floors that didn't require complicated procedures. Feng Zhao would start tracking the target based on the sounds from the surveillance cameras in the building. This wasn't the first time Feng Zhao had done something like this. Back on Planet Y, Feng Zhao had used this method to track down killers. There was indeed a lot of noise in the building. Feng Zhao picked up the audio signals one by one and dissected them in his mind, analyzing them and extracting the information he needed. Putting himself in Feng Zhao's shoes, if he were to infiltrate this place, where would he go and where would he avoid? With his extraordinary hearing ability and rich experience in tracking, avoiding danger, and escaping, the path he was taking now was practically the same as the infiltrators. Furthermore, Feng Zhao's tracking speed wasn't any slower than the infiltrators. The people Zhao Chao had sent to follow and a few members of the island guard team couldn't keep up after a while. Inside the building's main control room, Zhao Chao and the island guard captain's jaws dropped as they stared at the image on the monitor screen. On the screen were real-time images captured by the surveillance cameras, as well as Feng Zhao's location and movement path. The island guard captain finally managed to close his jaw with great difficulty and pointed at the monitor screen. Those ears of his. No wonder so many people have their eyes on him. This was also the first time Zhao Chao was deeply aware of how miraculous Feng Zhao's ears were. No wonder a music artist like him would be recommended here. Is his hearing very good? Dr. Nick asked. You don't know him? I thought you researchers were all interested in his ears, Zhao Chao said. Nick shook his head. He was in the field of biochemistry and virus research, And he rarely paid attention to news outside of research, so he really didn't know much about Feng Zhao. Zhao Chao used 2 sentences to summarize the contributions of Feng Zhao's miraculous ears. Nowadays, he is also jokingly called dieting by others. Now it seems like it really isn't an exaggeration. He really can hear sounds that others can't. These ears are even more useful than machines. Zhao Chao was completely used to his profession and first considered the practicalities of his work. However, unit manager Nick's focus was completely different from Zhao Chao's. After hearing Zhao Chao's evaluation of Feng Zhao, his expression turned rather ugly. So, as long as it isn't completely soundproof, within a close distance, he can actually hear other people's conversations? Nick asked with a straight face. Theoretically speaking, that's correct. That also means that he can hear quite a number of laboratory secrets. Unit manager Nick asked again. Zhao Chao stuttered. After regaining his senses, he also understood what unit manager Nick meant. Indeed, the locations where the surveillance cameras were installed did not require too much secrecy, and the audio recordings provided to Feng Zhao also did not contain too much important information, but the few areas that Feng Zhao's movements had passed through were all unmonitored areas. They all involved important research secrets. As for Feng Zhao, in terms of status, he was only here as a reserve member and was considered a temporary worker. There was some information that he could not access. No wonder unit manager Nick's expression instantly turned gloomy. He signed a confidentiality agreement. Zhao Chao could only say. After all, Feng Zhao was his own teammate. Feng Zhao had done this to capture the target as quickly as possible. Zhao Chao had to protect him. Those don't count. What I need is a high-level confidentiality agreement that is accurate to the project, accurate to the culture medium formula. Unit manager Nick's gaze was glued to the surveillance screen showing Feng Zhao's movements. He coldly said, 1 confidentiality agreement. And following Feng Zhao's rapid movements, 2 confidentiality agreements. In a short while. 3. 4. Unit manager Nick's face became more and more rigid. Watching Feng Zhao's movements on the surveillance screen, he thought to himself, did that fellow actually hear my research secrets? How much did he hear? Regardless of whether he heard it or not, I still have to sign those confidentiality agreements. Chapter 421. In a lounge on the 5th floor of the first unit of the laboratory building. A young researcher in white overalls had blood dripping from his forehead. His lips were as pale as his face. His entire body was trembling from extreme fear. Large drops of sweat or tears fell to the ground. Next to his neck, a sharp blade exuded a cold aura. Goosebumps appeared on his neck. The person holding the knife had a sinister look in his eyes. His exposed skin was strangely red as if it had been scalded by hot water. Blood spots seeped out, and his breathing was rapid. The knife wielder was the target of the island's security. The young experimenter he threatened was a student of building manager Nick. Due to his excellent results this year, he had won the opportunity to stay on the island. Although with his current qualifications, he could only do odd jobs here and follow the project team leader around, this was enough for him to brag about. Today, as usual, he finished his assigned tasks and came here to rest for a while. As soon as he came in, he received a notice from unit manager Nick, asking everyone to stay indoors as much as possible. At the same time, they were to cooperate with the search and report any abnormalities immediately. 10 minutes ago, a security guard came to inquire. He said that everything was normal and that there was no suspicious person. The guard also asked him to lock the door when he was indoors, which he did. Unexpectedly, as soon as the guard left, he locked the door and turned around to find someone coming out of the freezer. The young researcher felt that his luck was terrible today. His experiment was not going smoothly, and then he encountered something like this. He tried to resist, but he stayed in the laboratory all year round and lacked training. He had just mustered the courage to make some noise when he was beaten. His head still hurt, but fear made him ignore the pain. He didn't even know that his forehead was bleeding. The young researcher thought that he was going to die, but as time passed, the intruder didn't seem to have any intention of killing him immediately. He didn't seem to want to escape, and he didn't ask about any secrets of the laboratory. His bloodshot eyes stared at the door. After the initial fear passed, he gradually regained some of his rationality. The young researcher didn't dare to look at the intruder directly. He glanced at the hand holding the knife from the corner of his eyes. The blood spots on the man's forearm made his pupils shrink. When he saw the sealed bottle in the man's other hand, the tears that had just stopped started flowing again. He was all too familiar with that kind of sealed bottle. As a person who studied viruses, he saw that kind of sealed bottle every day. It was meant to contain the virus, but now the sealed bottle in the other party's hand was open, which meant that the lounge was already contaminated. Time. It's about time. Every breath of the person holding the saber seemed to be in great pain. As he spoke, the blood rushed to his throat, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. Looking at the blood that splashed on his body, the experimenter's teeth were chattering. The other party let out a maniacal laugh and didn't say anything else. He stuffed the researcher's mouth with a rag and smacked the researcher's head, causing the wound that had already stopped bleeding to bleed again. Outside the lounge, Feng Zhao stopped at this point. He raised his hand and gestured for the guardsmen to retreat. Zhao Chao and the guard captain frowned when they saw this scene from the surveillance camera. "What does he mean?" asked the captain of the guards. Maybe he heard something. Just as Zhao Chao finished his sentence, he received a message from Feng Zhao, and his expression changed. The Coast Guard captain broke out in a cold sweat. He contacted the people following Feng Zhao on that floor and told them not to approach for the time being and to wait for orders. At the same time, the other small team that had changed into virus protection suits quickly headed over. It's too late. Unit manager Nick activated the quarantine procedures for that floor. The next moment, the door to the lounge in front of Feng Zhao opened. The experimenter's consciousness was already fuzzy, and he couldn't see the situation in front of him clearly. He knew that he was being used as a meat shield. The door to the lounge opened. He was very anxious. He knew the consequences of the virus spreading. He wanted to shout and tell everyone what had happened here so that Unit Manager Nick could activate the virus protection and quarantine procedures, but he couldn't make a sound. He only saw a silhouette in front of him, and then, bang! The experimenter felt the hands on his back that were like the claws of the Grim Reaper loosen. Behind him, the target that was being chased by the inspection team and Coast Guard had died with his eyes wide open and blood spurting from his forehead. In the building's surveillance room, the two captains were just about to urge the snipers to get into position when they saw Feng Zhao raise his gun and fire. Feng Zhao's voice came through Zhao Chao's earpiece. "Reporting. Captain. The target has been shot. Zhao Chao, Island Guard Captain." The inspection team that Zhao Chao led usually assisted in tracking down and apprehending targets. If anything happened, it was the Coast Guard that rushed forward. It was very rare for them to be faster than the Island Guard. And in that situation just now, making a move required a lot of courage and precise judgment. The seasoned Island Guard knew that if they encountered such a situation, they would kill the target in one shot. However, the members of the inspection team were more gentle. Even if the inspection team's marksmanship was good, they might be concerned about the experimenter in front of them, or they might be thinking about leaving the target alive for further questioning. Thus, they might hesitate and not dare to fire, missing the opportunity and causing even greater losses. The Island Guard squad members who were standing a little further away but had clearly seen the scene of Feng Zhao firing his gun. Gentle? Regardless of what everyone was thinking, the target had already been shot dead. The spread of the virus had been controlled within a small area. Everyone in that area had been taken away and quarantined. Unit Supervisor Nick quickly obtained information on the virus. A type of synthetic virus created by some people courting death. It can't be considered a finished product, just a semi-finished product. It spreads through the air and has a limited ability to invade susceptible bodies. However, if it successfully invades, it will be very troublesome. The time it takes to flare up depends on one's constitution. It can be as short as a few minutes, or as long as 10 to 20 days. According to the experimental data we obtained, the longest is 29 days. The incubation period is very difficult to determine. I'm afraid you will have to be quarantined here for a month. That also means that even if the Whale Island conference ends, you won't be able to return for the holidays. Welcome to the Memorial Day team. In the new era, Memorial Day was the most important holiday of the year. Office workers had a rare long vacation, and it was also the best day of the year for family reunions. When Feng Zhao had spoken to great-grandfather Feng not long before he had arrived at Whale Island region, great-grandfather Feng had even asked Feng Zhao to return to Yenzhou for the holidays. Given the current situation, it was probably impossible for him to return. He still had to explain things to great-grandfather Feng. However, now wasn't the time to think about this. If I am diagnosed with this virus, can it be cured? What's the mortality rate? Feng Zhao asked. It can be cured. The mortality rate of this virus isn't considered high. It's only 17%, Unit Supervisor Nick replied. Zhao Chao, who had been standing silently to the side, nearly jumped up when he heard this. A mortality rate of 17% was already very high. Only people like Nick, who were constantly exposed to deadly viruses, would think that this number was low. As the inspection team captain, Zhao Chao felt guilty as he watched Feng Zhao being quarantined. Feng Zhao wasn't even 30 years old and was still a temporary worker. If the situation wasn't dire, he wouldn't have let Feng Zhao rush to the front. This time, the rest of the Coast Guard team was still fine. Because of Feng Zhao's warning, the small team didn't approach. After the target was killed, the quarantine was quick, and the possibility of them being infected was very low. Now, the only ones in danger were Feng Zhao and that unlucky researcher. How are the researcher's injuries? Feng Zhao asked. It's not a big deal. Although he suffered some injuries, fortunately, he was injected with 2 types of antidotes for his experiments. These 2 antidotes happen to have a certain protective effect against this type of synthetic virus. The effective period of the antidote is 24 hours, and it hasn't expired yet. However, isolation is still necessary. Even if his injuries are healed, he will still be quarantined for a month like you. The 2 of you, as well as that floor's Coast Guard team, will have to join the Memorial Day team, Unit Supervisor Nick said. The guilt in Zhao Chao's heart deepened. What Nick meant was that Feng Zhao was the only one in danger. Feng Zhao was a member of the art circles and was doing well, but he was called over to carry out a mission and was quarantined. Quarantine was fine. As long as he didn't get infected, a month would pass very quickly. But if he got infected, Zhao Chao wanted to console Feng Zhao. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Feng Zhao ask, "The person who was killed shouldn't have been in contact with the virus for a long time. From the looks of it, he only opened the sealed vial after entering that resting room? Where did the virus come from?" Unit Supervisor Nick nodded. Currently, only that area was infected. Therefore, he indeed opened the sealed vial after entering that resting room. This kind of sealed vial also requires time to open. We don't know where the virus came from, but that's the Investigation Bureau's problem. As for why he acted up so quickly, it was because he had already been stimulated by the drug. His nerves and muscles were overstimulated, and after that, his cells and organs became abnormal. Something isn't right, Feng Zhao said. It still hasn't ended. Without waiting for Zhao Chao and Nick to ask further, both of them received a call at practically the same time. Just now, after the Whale Island guard captain had questioned the injured researcher about some details, he also had a bad premonition. He had gotten the other 2 units in the laboratory building to conduct another investigation. Then, he received a reply that a vial of a supervirus had been lost at Unit 3. Unit 3 had been careless and had been exploited. The unit supervisor would surely be fired, but now wasn't the time to pursue who was responsible. Zhao Chao immediately contacted his team and transferred over the inspection team's dogs that specialized in this field. Unit Supervisor Nick's expression wasn't good, but it wasn't to the extent of being irritable. The one that was lost is also a type of synthetic virus, but it's classified as a supervirus. If the virus escapes, all vertebrates in the entire Whale Island region will suffer a calamity. However, viruses of this grade are sealed with multiple layers of encryption, and the material used is special. It will take quite some time to forcefully open it. Given the intensity of the search in the island region, the person who stole the virus simply doesn't have the time to open it. But if he escapes, the consequences will be unthinkable. Fortunately, we discovered it in time. All the checkpoints in the island region have already been sealed. Zhao Chao glanced at Feng Zhao. Let's borrow your curly hair for a while. Many inspection dogs only listen to the commands of their trainers. Curly Hair was just a dog. He didn't have a professional background. He was smart, but he didn't have any sense of responsibility. He only listened to Feng Zhao. Zhao Chao could only bring it to Feng Zhao. When Curly Hair saw Feng Zhao, he wanted to rush forward. When he touched the safety glass, he wanted to claw at it but was stopped by Feng Zhao. Curly Hair, bring Captain Zhao Chao to search for the missing virus. Don't let the thief leave Whale Island. Curly Hair squatted in front of the safety glass and whimpered unwillingly. Feng Zhao crouched down and looked at Curly Hair outside the safety glass of the quarantine room. I can't go out now. Let Captain Zhao Chao bring you out on a mission. After the mission is completed, I'll bring you back to play a new game. Because there were others around, Feng Zhao didn't dare speak too clearly. However, Curly Hair understood Feng Zhao's meaning. His drooping ears straightened up, and he wagged his tail as he looked at Feng Zhao before walking over to Zhao Chao. Zhao Chao recalled what Feng Zhao had said to Curly Hair and categorized them. First, find the missing vial of virus. Second, prevent the person who stole the virus from leaving the island. He didn't miss anything, so there shouldn't be any problems. To talk in a trite tone. I didn't finish typing it yesterday. Chapter 422. After Zhao Chao left with Curly Hair, Feng Zhao sat in the quarantine room and pondered quietly. Not far from him, there were other quarantine rooms where Feng Zhao's team members were also quarantined for observation. However, compared to Feng Zhao's quietness, the atmosphere there was much more restless. Knowing that a dangerous individual was hiding on the island and had even stolen a vial of the supervirus, how could they sit still? They often dealt with such matters and were all too clear on the consequences of the virus escaping. But now, no matter how worried they were, they could only stay in the quarantine room and worry. Slurp slurp slurp. Unit Manager Nick walked over with a bowl of instant noodles and sat in front of the quarantine room, watching them as he ate. Unit Manager Nick, you still have the mood to eat instant noodles? One of the guards looked as if he had seen some mystical new species. You actually eat instant noodles in your own laboratory. Another guard was also flabbergasted. He still remembered when their team had just entered the building to search. This unit manager had said that he was a clean freak. What fucking clean freak? If it had been the previous unit manager, he definitely wouldn't have allowed a situation like eating instant noodles indoors. Other than the resting room, snacks and other things were simply not allowed anywhere else, let alone something as demonic as instant noodles. This was simply pollution. This unit manager couldn't do it. Facing those stunned gazes, Unit Manager Nick ate another mouthful without batting an eyelid. Then he said slowly, "This isn't a laboratory. This is a quarantine room. The space outside the quarantine room is a free activity zone. The air circulation system will efficiently remove odors and disinfect at the same time." Slurp slurp slurp. Eating instant noodles? This smell is really intoxicating. Unit Manager Nick asked the people in the quarantine room. The quarantined guards. Who would be in the mood to eat instant noodles at a time like this? This feeling of only being able to wait and do nothing really made them anxious. Calm down, Nick said. No one would be able to calm down when faced with such a situation. A guard said. Unit Manager Nick tilted his head. The other guards followed his line of sight and saw Feng Zhao sitting on a chair with a calm expression. All the guards. They didn't think that Feng Zhao was really calm. They believed that Feng Zhao had received too much of an impact. After all, among the quarantined people, Feng Zhao was in the most danger. The one most likely to be infected was Feng Zhao. But no matter what, Feng Zhao had helped save them this time. When he didn't know how to console them, he remained silent. Unit Manager Nick had no intention of staying silent. He continued to tempt them with his bowl of instant noodles. What you need now is food. Food can replenish your energy, and it is also a good medicine to dissolve anxiety and anxiety. Aren't you worried at all? A young guard couldn't help but ask. Nick shook his head. I do worry, but it's useless. I just need to do what I'm supposed to do and leave the rest to the professionals. You have to believe in your teammates. They're not that useless. Given the current situation, even if they can't catch them in a short time, they won't let them escape. What if? Another island guard asked. He liked to think the worst of everything. Unit Manager Nick said with certainty, with the island's armed forces, there's no chance. Unless people can suddenly disappear. On the other side, the operatives had already set off from Unit 3 of the laboratory building. The inspection team had transferred over 7 dogs to assist in the search, including Thornhead and Kay, the 2 ace dogs. Curly Hair took the lead. Now, Xiao Chao wasn't the one carrying it, but it was the one dragging Xiao Chao. Sometimes, it would complain that Xiao Chao was running too slow, and it would even turn around to urge him. The island guards following behind had a doubtful attitude. He has quite the momentum and speed, but is that dog really chasing? Isn't he running blindly? He should be following the scent. Look at those dogs behind him. They're all following the same route. The clues provided by the surveillance cameras also coincide with this route. It shouldn't be wrong. Not every area had surveillance cameras, and there were also problems with some surveillance cameras. There were a few areas where there was a pause of 5 to 10 seconds. The surveillance cameras had been interfered with. As for the specifics, there would be relevant personnel to resolve it. Xiao Chao and the others' current mission was to find that lost vial of virus as soon as possible. As Curly Hair ran, he suddenly stopped and sniffed the ground. Why did you stop? The sentinel captain who was following closely behind looked at Xiao Chao. Xiao Chao shook his head silently and stared at Curly Hair. Curly Hair sniffed the ground, then raised his head and twitched his nose. Woof woof woof. Xiao Chao and the sentinel captain glanced at each other and moved a ladder to remove the buckle on the ceiling. It's here. The sentinel captain was extremely excited. He put on his gloves and carefully removed a sealed vial of virus from the buckle. After carefully inspecting it, he confirmed that the sealed vial was the one that had been lost. It wasn't damaged or opened. He got someone to bring over a storage container, place the sealed vial inside, and seal it. The sentinel captain took a deep breath and chuckled. How treacherous. Knowing that there are too many people following, the encirclement is too strong, and the exit is sealed, the things can't be brought out, so he hid it on the ceiling. It really can avoid most inspection dogs. The missing supervirus was the main focus of the chase. It was fine if they couldn't catch the person, but the virus must be recovered. They were already more than half relieved. The dogs had already followed the scent to search for the person. Apart from some dogs with exceptional talents, the rest would really miss this place. This dog isn't bad. Really impressive. The sentinel captain looked at Curly Hair as though he was a treasure. Xiao Chao's face flashed with pride, but it was quickly replaced by worry. It's all thanks to Feng Zhao this time. If he hadn't found the person, we wouldn't have discovered that the virus was lost so quickly. Every second that passes means another layer of variables. The dog that found the virus is also Feng Zhao's. The sentinel captain nodded in agreement. We really have to give him a huge credit. If Feng Zhao really gets infected and doesn't make it. Shoo. Xiao Chao hurriedly made a shushing gesture and glanced at the dog at his feet. Curly Hair, who had been crouching at the side, heard the sentinel captain's words and looked at the two. He didn't know what to do and suddenly got up to run back. Xiao Chao pulled on the leash. Stop. Curly Hair. The sentinel captain also helped. Hey, what is he doing? What else can he be doing? He wants to go back. Don't think that dogs can't understand human language. You said that his owner might be infected and dying. Of course he wants to run back. Xiao Chao roared. Xiao Chao knew that many intelligent dogs that received training from young or had frequent contact with humans could understand human language. Even if they didn't understand everything, they could at least understand some of it. Thornhead and Kay, those 2 ace dogs, belonged to the category of smart dogs and could understand a lot of human language. Previously, he hadn't expected Curly Hair to completely understand Feng Zhao's conversation with Curly Hair. Curly Hair definitely wouldn't be able to remember such a long conversation. He just needed to remember the key words. Now, it seemed like Curly Hair could really understand quite a bit. Besides being able to understand quite a bit, Xiao Chao hadn't expected Curly Hair to be so strong. He couldn't hold him back alone. Curly Hair. Stop. This is an order. Don't forget that the mission Feng Zhao gave you hasn't been completed. Sensing that the force on the leash had lessened, Xiao Chao exerted more force. Feng Zhao gave you orders to find the virus and the person. We've only found the virus. We haven't caught the person yet. Curly Hair stopped and looked at Xiao Chao. Xiao Chao didn't avoid Curly Hair's gaze. His expression was solemn and his gaze sincere. Curly hair. Feng Zhao is still very safe. He hasn't contracted the virus. We have to continue our mission. Let's go and catch the person who stole the virus. As he spoke, Zhao Chao pointed to the front. The person who stole the virus had escaped from this direction. They had stopped because they had discovered the sealed vial of the virus. The others had already continued their chase with the dogs. Curly Hair's ears drooped as he walked step by step to Zhao Chao's feet. That pair of dog eyes looked aggrieved and pitiful, making Zhao Chao's heart soften. Sighing, Zhao Chao crouched down and raised his hand, intending to give Curly Hair a loving pat. However, before Zhao Chao's hand could touch the dog's head, Curly Hair suddenly bit at him. Curly Hair didn't bite. He just snatched the leash from Zhao Chao's hand and ran forward. This time, he wasn't running back but in the direction of the chase. The border guard captain standing at the side was stunned. Zhao Chao cursed softly and jumped up to pat the border guard captain. "What are you looking at? Hurry up and give chase." Curly Hair, who had snatched back the leash, was simply like a wild dog that had lost its leash. The two captains chased with all their might, but they discovered that the distance between them continued to widen. Very quickly, Curly Hair overtook the pursuing team. The border guard and inspection team only felt a gust of wind. Whoosh! Curly Hair passed by. They couldn't even stop him. "Was that a professional racing dog?" one of the guards asked. "No, that was a former professional shepherd dog. Now a temporary inspection dog. It's a professional pet dog," an inspection team member explained. Somewhere in the basement, a silhouette was running at high speed, avoiding obstacles like a nimble monkey. His ears were constantly emitting sounds from his micro earpiece, instructing him on which direction to run and how long he had to run in each direction. Suddenly, a buzzing sound came from his earpiece, as if it was being disrupted. The buzzing sound became more and more obvious, and the voice coming from the earpiece could no longer be heard clearly. The change was sudden and rapid. He only felt a buzzing sound in his ears, as if the tinnitus had increased tenfold, 100-fold. Time seemed to slow down, and all his senses became sluggish. Behind him, something was rapidly approaching. His mind was blank. His vision suddenly darkened. When Zhao Chao and the others arrived, they discovered Curly Hair lying on the ground. They were so scared that their faces turned pale. Fortunately, Curly Hair was still breathing and his heartbeat was normal. Curly Hair woke up very quickly and looked around blankly. The other dogs were also just spinning around. "The scent has disappeared here," an inspection team member said. No one was satisfied with this result. How could he actually disappear under such heavy encirclement? Investigate thoroughly. Why did all the surveillance cameras malfunction for 10 seconds? Why were all communications suddenly cut off? Did the other party use some secret weapon? Or some unknown method? Many people were alarmed. Zhao Chao could only lead the team back since the pursuit was fruitless. They hadn't been able to catch the culprit, but fortunately, they had found the virus. What exactly happened just now? How could such a big person suddenly disappear? Zhao Chao couldn't understand. Maybe he knows. The border guard captain pointed at Curly Hair. As if sensing that he was being talked about, Curly Hair raised his head and looked at the border guard captain. Facing that pair of clear and innocent dog eyes, the border guard captain shook his head. Forget it. There's no point asking him. Curly Hair hung his head and continued walking. This time, he obediently followed the team. As he walked, he burped and stuck out his tongue to lick his mouth. Chapter 423. Zhao Chao had been keeping an eye on Curly Hair. Curly Hair had escaped once before, so he had to pay even more attention this time. Seeing Curly Hair burping and licking his lips, Zhao Chao recalled the scene of Curly Hair lying on the ground and asked worriedly, did he eat something before? Could someone have poisoned him? He suspected that Curly Hair had fainted after eating some poisonous bait. Another trainer in the team observed Curly Hair's mental state and running posture before shaking his head. I can't see anything abnormal. However, we still have to check him carefully when we get back. Interplanetary Fund personnel were arranged to stay and work in a certain special building on the island district. In one of the rooms, Little Bear was watching the news out of boredom. He had already finished watching the entire Founding Arab series. He had also watched all the concerts and movies he wanted to watch. He couldn't go online casually in the Whale Island district. Because of his special body, his movements were restricted. Besides watching some news highlights, he could only play with his pet little riches. Suddenly, the superintelligence and the retarded robot pet in the eyes of the superintelligence stopped playing at the same time. Little Bear's hands trembled as he tried to discern that strange sound. As for Little Riches, he curled up into a ball and switched off his phone. Close to 10 seconds later, Little Bear didn't even look at Little Riches, who had switched off his phone. Instead, he ran barefooted to knock on the door next door. Cui Hua. It's too dangerous here. Let's go back. Island District Comprehensive Laboratory Building. Unit 1. Quarantine Floor. The others didn't have much of a reaction, but Feng Zhao, who was deep in thought, was listening attentively. It was a very strange sound, but it had a strange familiarity to it. Feng Zhao also observed the others and didn't see any changes in their expressions. Unit Manager Nick also didn't receive any urgent calls. Thus, Feng Zhao decided to wait and see. After a while, Unit Manager Nick received a call from Zhao Chao. He had a strange expression on his face. The virus has been found, but the person who stole it hasn't been caught. It seems like he really disappeared. He really disappeared? The quarantine guards were also shocked by this news. Just as Unit Manager Nick had said, given the island district's armed forces, even if the person couldn't be caught in a short period of time, he shouldn't have been able to escape without a trace. Seeing that the guards were full of questions, Nick didn't intend to explain. He wasn't too interested. All he needed was to know that the virus had been found. He would let the investigation bureau worry about the rest. All right, Feng Zhao. Nick turned around and smiled at Feng Zhao. Captain Zhao said that Curly Hair did a meritorious deed this time. Feng Zhao's heart skipped a beat. He was more surprised than happy. Feng Zhao's heart skipped a beat. When Zhao Chao brought Curly Hair over, Curly Hair wagged his tail and trotted over to Feng Zhao. Unable to enter the quarantine room, Curly Hair squatted in front of the safety glass and barked a few times. Feng Zhao didn't notice any obvious injuries on Curly Hair's body, and he seemed to be in good spirits, so he shifted his gaze to Zhao Chao. Zhao Chao panted. Feng Zhao, your dog is quite strong. Just now, we were going to take him to the vet for a detailed examination, but he didn't cooperate and came straight here. I didn't pull him, he pulled me. Zhao Chao briefly explained the process of Curly Hair's meritorious service. Zhao Chao also mentioned how Curly Hair had collapsed for some unknown reason. Zhao Chao was speaking to Feng Zhao in the interview room next to the isolation room that Feng Zhao was in. The room was also in a privacy mode, so no sound could be heard. The originally transparent safety glass had also been turned into a slab of light, blocking the curious gazes of the nearby security guards. The ones behind this incident are from tomorrow's empire? Feng Zhao suddenly asked. Zhao Chao's gaze sharpened. You've come into contact with them? I came into contact with them during my military service on planet Baiji, Feng Zhao replied. Zhao Chao remembered Feng Zhao's file that he had seen before. He coughed lightly and his gaze became gentle. Back when Feng Zhao had been serving on planet Baiji, he had encountered a terrorist attack. The instigators were from tomorrow's empire. Feng Zhao had even killed a few terrorists and rendered meritorious service. It's them, Zhao Chao said. Feng Zhao's brows furrowed. Anger flashed in his eyes. It's that bunch of scoundrels again. Seeing Feng Zhao remain silent, Zhao Chao said ruefully, Feng Zhao, don't think too much. After the mission is over, this matter will have nothing to do with you. That's our problem. You just go and shine in the literary circles. Of course, at special times, you and your dog will be conscripted. You still have to make preparations. Don't fall behind in your training. Zhao Chao was worried that Feng Zhao was overthinking things. He was already threatened by the virus, and now there was the threat of a terrorist organization. He was only in his 20s, so he shouldn't bear too much pressure. He also didn't mention whether he was infected or not. It would only add to his worries. Seeing Zhao Chao like this, Feng Zhao didn't continue this topic. He asked Curly Hair about the mission in detail, focusing on when he had fainted. Zhao Chao didn't know much. By the time he rushed over, Curly Hair was already on the ground. He told Feng Zhao everything he knew. What do you think we should do now? How do we get him to cooperate with the inspection? I'm just afraid he might have been drugged. We might not even be able to save him in time. Zhao Chao was worried, but he still spoke up for Curly Hair. He overheard my conversation with the Coast Guard captain and probably knew that you were infected with the virus and were in danger, so the mission was a little rushed. Luckily, the virus was recovered and nothing serious happened. You don't have to blame him. Zhao Chao couldn't wait to protect Curly Hair, so he naturally didn't want Feng Zhao to reprimand him too much. I understand. Feng Zhao nodded and said, Captain, can I speak to him alone for a while? Sure. Zhao Chao walked out of the visitor's room and met the Coast Guard captain, who had just finished his work report and was here to visit the quarantine team members. Seeing Zhao Chao come out, the Coast Guard captain called him over. How's Feng Zhao's situation? Not bad. There are no signs of infection. Right now, he is training his dog, Zhao Chao replied. The Coast Guard captain lowered his voice. Feng Zhao, that person. When he shot the target, that technique wasn't something a rookie could do. Zhao Chao laughed when he heard this. You don't have to worry about this. There are no problems with his background. Someone has already checked on him. Do you remember the ambush incident when Planet Baiji had just discovered the mineral deposits? That happened to be Feng Zhao's military service period. The Coast Guard captain had an impression of that incident. Yes, I remember that. So, the matter of Feng Zhao performing meritorious deeds during the ambush incident is true? It wasn't exaggerated by the higher-ups to set a good example? I also thought it was exaggerated before, but this incident proves that this fellow is really impressive. Tiske, the Coast Guard captain took a deep breath. If he wasn't trained from a young age, then he was born to eat dinner. When he safely passes his quarantine period, are we really going to let him go back to the literary circles? What can I do? He isn't willing to stay. And that dog of his, I still want to get my hands on it. But I can't even get my hands on Y Base's commanding officer. What can I do? Zhao Chao was also depressed. In the quarantine room. Through the safety glass, Feng Zhao watched Curly Hair pacing back and forth in the visitor's room. There are no surveillance cameras here. Come over and bare your teeth for me to see, Feng Zhao said. Curly Hair wagged his tail and bared his teeth, sticking close to the safety glass so that Feng Zhao could get a better look at his teeth. Feng Zhao took a closer look and didn't find anything suspicious. Curly Hair whimpered, sounding rather pitiful. Feng Zhao told him, I'm just quarantined here. My life isn't in danger, so don't worry. After the conference ends in a few days, I'll get Nanfeng and the others to come over and pick you up. Curly Hair took a step back and whimpered unhappily. Feng Zhao didn't care about Curly Hair's mood for the time being and asked again. Fainted before? Woof woof. Curly Hair wagged his tail vigorously, his entire body exuding a sense of pride. Feng Zhao raised an eyebrow. Faked. Curly Hair puffed out his chest and wagged his tail vigorously. Where is he? Feng Zhao asked. Curly Hair's mouth gaped open. Feng Zhao. It can't be what I think it is, right? Chapter 424. Feng Zhao took a deep breath and remained silent. Seeing that Feng Zhao didn't react, Curly Hair thought that Feng Zhao didn't understand and opened his mouth even wider towards the safety glass so that Feng Zhao could see more clearly. Feng Zhao. All right, shut up. Wiping his face, Feng Zhao asked, how did you eat it? For such a big person to vanish without a trace, Curly Hair's size simply couldn't do it. Curly Hair tilted his head, his expression perplexed. This time, he was really at a loss, not faking it. From the looks of it, Curly Hair probably only knew that he had eaten that target. In any case, Curly Hair's orders were to not let the target leave Whale Island. Directly eating the target was also a method. Curly Hair thought that he had accomplished some great merit and came running over to Feng Zhao to claim credit. As for how to eat it, no impression, no idea, no understanding. Feng Zhao took another deep breath. What exactly did I raise? Feng Zhao's reaction caused Curly Hair's smugness to cool down. He squatted there and watched Feng Zhao carefully, feeling uneasy. Feng Zhao continued to watch the dog through the safety glass in silence. The dog did not have a clear ability to distinguish things. In other words, it saw everything from a different angle than a human. In its eyes, strangers were no different from hamsters on the farm. It had many unknown abilities and was very smart. It was still growing, and its IQ was getting higher and higher. This time, it even knew to play dumb to avoid suspicion. Combining the details that Zhao Chao had recounted to Feng Zhao could roughly guess what had happened. Curly Hair had overheard the conversation between the two captains and thought that Feng Zhao's life was in danger. He had wanted to return midway, but Zhao Chao had held him back. Thus, in his excitement, Curly Hair had snatched away the leash and chased after the target himself, hoping to complete the mission and return as quickly as possible. After Feng Zhao had joined the inspection team, he had brought Curly Hair along for a few training sessions. The instructor had told Feng Zhao that on Whale Island, if they were discovered to be involved in terrorism, the island's inspectors and guards could immediately execute them. Being equipped with a gun gives you the right to deal with emergencies. Those who refuse to cooperate with the security check at the island's border could be killed on the spot. Not to mention the incident involving the virus and the involvement of terrorist organizations. Every time the Whale Island conference was held, something would always happen. Many of those who came to participate in the conference were unaware of the turbulent waves beneath the calm surface. The price of peace and tranquility was not small. Although the deaths of those who were involved in terrorism were not to be regretted, this was a completely different matter. Eating people was not a small matter. This was no longer the period of destruction. The new era had its own rules. Feng Zhao was now aware of one thing. Curly Hair, this dog, could do anything when he was agitated. Feng Zhao was still in quarantine, so it wasn't convenient for him to speak too much to Curly Hair. It wasn't convenient for him to ask in detail either. Zhao Chao wouldn't give him too much time to talk to Curly Hair. Feng Zhao knocked on the safety glass in front of him and told Curly Hair, "From now on, apart from dog food and water, you are not allowed to eat anything else. Until my quarantine is over." Feng Zhao spoke briefly with Curly Hair for a bit before Zhao Chao came over to rush him. "How did it go?" Zhao Chao asked. "Just now, the dog doctor urged us again, saying that we can't ignore any small details that could threaten the life of the inspection dog." Feng Zhao suppressed all kinds of doubts in his heart and said, "Captain, can you let the dog doctor come here directly for an examination?" Curly Hair was too special. Feng Zhao had to keep an eye on him to prevent any unforeseen events. He was also pondering how to resolve any inexplicable findings later on. After receiving Zhao Chao's confirmation, Feng Zhao asked again, "Do I need to draw its blood too?" "Yes." Zhao Chao nodded. "Feng Zhao. It's afraid of injections." Curly Hair looked at Feng Zhao innocently. Feng Zhao's expression didn't change. Zhao Chao chuckled. "No wonder you have to watch from the side every time we draw its blood. I understand. Many dogs are like that. They always need their owners by their side to cooperate. Otherwise, they will cause a ruckus." Ignoring Curly Hair's whimpers, Feng Zhao said apologetically to Zhao Chao, "Sorry for the trouble." The dog doctor had been waiting for a long time. After receiving Zhao Chao's notification, he quickly came over with a toolbox and performed a physical examination on Curly Hair right in front of Feng Zhao. The blood draw was also very smooth. With Feng Zhao watching, there weren't any instances of the needle bending when it was inserted. Feng Zhao kept watching the dog doctor's movements and waited for the results. "It's not a big deal. It's just that the heavy metal content is a little high," the dog doctor said. "Maybe it's because he just ate something with a high metal content." This high metal content was naturally determined based on Curly Hair's previous examination results. Curly Hair had undergone a checkup when he had entered the inspection team, and there were records. Zhao Chao was furious when he received this result. "I just knew that someone must have poisoned him. Luckily, it's not serious. I will prescribe some medicine for him. Just give him some dog food when he is fed." After the dog doctor left, Zhao Chao discussed with Feng Zhao about the arrangements for Curly Hair. Now that Feng Zhao was in quarantine, Curly Hair couldn't stay here forever. Thus, Feng Zhao let Zhao Chao bring Curly Hair on patrol when he was out on a mission and let Curly Hair return to Feng Zhao after the mission. Because Curly Hair was going to be quarantined for a long period of time, Feng Zhao couldn't stay in this cramped quarantine room forever. There would be a specialized quarantine apartment. He would stay in the quarantine apartment with the other quarantined people for a month. They weren't criminals. Not only were they innocent, but they had also performed meritorious deeds. Their treatment would surely be better. The quarantine apartment also had a visitor's room. Curly Hair would stay in the visitor's room after his mission. Zhao Chao had many things to do every day and didn't have much free time to watch over Curly Hair outside of mission hours. However, bringing Curly Hair to the visitor's room after his mission wasn't a big deal. After discussing how to settle down Curly Hair, Zhao Chao left with Curly Hair. He had received a notice at the last minute that there were 2 storage units that needed to be inspected, so he could only let Curly Hair work overtime. Fortunately, there weren't many storage units to be inspected this time, so it wouldn't take too long. Before bringing Curly Hair to the storage units, Zhao Chao was worried that Curly Hair would starve, so he fed Curly Hair first. Feng Zhao had said that Curly Hair got hungry easily, and Zhao Chao knew that some dogs were like that. Furthermore, Curly Hair had performed a great service this time, so Zhao Chao specially went to the canteen to get a large pig trotter and brought it over after it was cooked. Normally, the dog food that the team's dogs ate was mixed with meat and vegetables. There was both dry and wet food. However, other than dog food, if a dog performed a meritorious deed, there would be some rewards. For example, if Thornhead performed a meritorious deed at a certain anti-smuggling war zone, someone would give him a large pig trotter. Thornhead loved to eat pig trotters. The other dogs in the team also ate pig trotters, so Zhao Chao felt that Curly Hair would like it too. However, when Zhao Chao brought the large pig trotter over, Curly Hair only squatted beside the bowl and watched. Zhao Chao let him eat, but Curly Hair stared at the bowl and whimpered, but he didn't eat. At first, Zhao Chao thought that Curly Hair didn't care about anyone other than his owner feeding him. But when he switched to dog food, Curly Hair started eating. Zhao Chao felt that he had found the reason. When he chatted with his teammates, he said, "I've long heard that some pet dogs only eat dog food. I didn't expect it to be true. I gave Curly Hair such a large pig trotter, but he actually didn't eat it. That's not right. A few days ago, I even saw Feng Zhao give him a small biscuit," an inspection team member said. "That's only a minority. Furthermore, when the owner feeds him, he will eat a little and not a lot." "Did you see Curly Hair eat a lot of biscuits?" Zhao Chao asked. "Not really. However, our team's dog food also includes pig trotters, right? Why doesn't Curly Hair eat pig trotters when he eats dog food? He doesn't even touch it?" Another team member raised his own doubts. "Perhaps it's because Curly Hair is a small-sized dog. His mouth is small and can't chew? Captain, you even specially picked a large one. He doesn't even know where to start. My aunt's pet dog is like this. He doesn't have the patience to bite things that are too big. He only bites a few times before losing interest. He will only eat it when it's cut into small pieces." "Pet dogs are all pampered," that team member said. From their point of view, Curly Hair was normally raised as a pet dog. Although he had some experience herding sheep in Muzhou, that was only a small part of it. Most of the time, he had the status of a pet dog. Curly Hair's current status as an inspection dog was only temporary. When the Whale Island conference ended and the mission was completed, he would return and continue being a pet dog. Thus, everyone's expectations of him weren't that strict. Zhao Chao thought about it and agreed. Pet dogs were indeed willful. Curly Hair was hesitant to do an inspection and wasn't as obedient as military or police dogs. He was even afraid of injections and was a little timid. However, as long as he had the ability and could complete the mission, being a little willful was fine. Zhao Chao cut the pig trotter into small pieces and placed them into Curly Hair's dog bowl. Curly Hair still didn't touch it. Later, Zhao Chao mixed the pig trotter into the dog food, and this time, Curly Hair ate it. Thus, everyone in the inspection team quickly found out that Feng Zhao's dog only loved dog food. It wouldn't even touch anything bigger. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.